Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Navigation. Start on 9 Snakes Island, rewarded with a bone scraper. Chapter 31. Bai Yi spent a whole week tinkering in the workshop before finishing the new power unit. This is a means of refining weapons, and the power source of the power device is chi. He just needs to recharge it in advance and he can sail without the help of wind. He even absorbed some of the production concepts of the swallowing beast, which can absorb energy attacks and convert them into chi for storage. Has it be done? Hancock was curious to see him use this thing to replace the original power system made by Evan. As for the task of sailing the ship, on the third day, Hancock couldn't stand the boredom in the cockpit and handed over the task of sailing the ship to Salome. Speaking of which, this snake is indeed not simple and has great intelligence. Under Hancock's clumsy teachings, Salome's boating skills surpassed Hancock's in just half a day. This made Bai Yi have some thoughts. This snake is so smart. Let's try getting her a human fruit later. At that time, we can also let her try to practice chi. In my memory, Renrenguo was on Drum Island. I don't know if he was eaten by Chopper. If it has been eaten, except for the ordinary people's form of the Renren fruit, the others are all phantom beast species, which will be difficult to get. After the power unit was installed and connected to the console of the cockpit, he couldn't wait to try it. Buzz. With a loud bang, Hancock felt as if he was about to fly. Bai Yi is so fast. She came outside excitedly, her hair messy by the sea breeze. Although she is not old, she is quite experienced. This kind of speed is simply unheard of, let alone seen with her own eyes. This speed is more than 5 times faster than before. Bai Yi is quite satisfied with this speed. If it were not limited by the hull material, he could be faster. The treasure tree Yucot is still wood, and even the treasure tree atom has an upper limit. If it were a steel hull, he would be able to fully utilize his weapon refining skills. After driving for a while, he handed over the driving task to Salome, and also taught the snake new functions. Then, he dived into the studio again and took out the previous seastone bottom plate from the capsule. He wants to modify this bottom plate and install it on the bottom of the boat. In this way, the Daybreak can safely travel through the calm belt. Hancock, who had been blowing the sea breeze outside the cabin for a while, got into the studio again and stared blankly at the Bai Yi refiner. On the sea, a marine warship was cruising. Suddenly, they saw something approaching them quickly. What is that? A sailor on the observation deck looked at the ships coming from far and near. When he finally saw their appearance clearly, he was so shocked that he immediately reported it to his captain. Is this a ship? The captain said he had never seen such a fast boat and quickly took a picture of it with a camera phone. In addition to exterminating pirates, discovering, recording and reporting all abnormal things is the main mission of their cruise. A few days later, the Dawn stopped here outside a disabled island in the Bangor waters. Is this your hometown? Hancock could vaguely see how prosperous the island once was. Unfortunately, now, not only all the people have disappeared, but most of the island has been destroyed. Bai Yi's eyes showed sadness. Regarding his own details, the world government will definitely investigate in detail in the future. Therefore, he needs to plan ahead. Since you want to act, you have to deceive even the people closest to you, so that your performance can be perfect. Hancock hugged Bai Yi gently and blew warm breath into his ears. You and I. After a while, Bai Yi carried the refined seastone bottom plate to the bottom of the ship and installed it on the bottom plate of the ship. Done. Bai Yi clapped his hands. The preliminary transformation of this ship has been completed. This bottom plate not only allows the boat to blend in with the sea and prevent it from being attacked by sea kings, it also adds a device that can automatically generate coatings. The coating uses chi to convert and is connected to the power device. It can not only isolate seawater, but also use chi to convert oxygen for people to breathe. It's so much better than the original simple coating. In this way, they can freely travel to and from the seabed. Bai Yi, you are so smart. Hancock watched as the ship underwent changes she had never heard of. When they dived to the bottom of the sea again, her surprise was beyond words. Shall we go home? After returning to the sea, Hancock leaned on Bai Yi's shoulders. She even took off her high heels to be able to do this. There's no rush. Bai Yi put his arms around the beauty's waist. Now that she's out, let's try to get as much benefit as possible. Let's go see New World. In fact, North Blue is still dominated by two major forces, the Don Quixote family and Germa 66. Originally, Bai Yi wanted to get in touch with these two forces, but they had no fixed territory and their whereabouts were unpredictable, and he had never encountered them. The closest time to the Don Quixote family was when Mignon Island was snatching the op fruit. But at that time, he had to hide and avoid Marine's eyes and ears, so he had no chance to contact Flamingo. But at this time, Germa 66 seems to have gone to East Blue to attack the kingdom of Korkia. In this case, we can only focus on New World first. Dawn still traverses the Calm Belt, directly into the New World. Fortunately, Jill had left a permanent pointer to New World before, so they were not afraid of getting lost. This time the target is Wanokuni. As an important chapter of the original plot, there are many important characters in it. By influencing them, you can change the world line and get system rewards. But be careful with Kaido, neither he nor Hancock have the power to fight the four emperors right now. When he passed some small islands on the way, he added some better materials for refining weapons. Woohoo, you are surrounded by me. Hand over the treasure. The Dawn, which was operating on wind power, was intercepted by a pirate ship. Hancock, who was sitting on the deck with his white feet dangling in the sea breeze, immediately looked over unhappily. Yo, what a beautiful woman. On a large ship, a sturdy man with a big belly and a round waist came out. He is nearly 7 meters tall, has a brown beard braided into 3 braids, wears a captain's hat, and holds a huge steel knife in his hand. Little beauty, from now on, you will belong to me, Chatros Shigriggs. The strong man laughed, with a lustful look in his eyes. This look disgusted Hancock. You've disturbed Bai Yi. A slave arrow covers the enemy pirate ship, and all personnel including the ship are petrified. Jump onto the enemy pirate ship and take off the leader's head. Place the petrified head in the corner of the cabin, where there are already piles of various petrified heads. She can kill most pirates easily, but some powerful pirates require Bai Yi to attack with her. However, no matter whether the enemy is strong or not, or whether they are petrified when killing them, she will petrify these heads. Otherwise, it will stink in the cabin. On the floor, there are bounty orders for pirates. Since entering the New World, more and more pirates have come to trouble them. Without exception, they have become collectibles in this cabin. When you return home, go find Marine to exchange the bounty. Just remove the petrification of the head when receiving the reward, and it can also play a role in preservation. Not far away, a pirate ship passed by. Is that the new 7 warlords of the sea Boa Hancock who has become famous recently? Why haven't you seen her legendary husband? The speaker is dark-skinned, tall and strong, with 2 curved blackbeards at the corners of his mouth, his chest exposed, and a western knife hanging on each side of his belt. That T-beard is not weak. He is somewhat famous with a bounty of 80 million, but he was instantly killed by Boa Hancock with one move. I really wonder what a man who can conquer such a woman looks like. Haha, since we are curious, why don't we go and test it out? Maybe we can also be invited to Dad's boat. Dad likes these young talents the most. But the strong swordsman shook his head. They did not conflict with us, there is no need to provoke them. If they are really strong, we will definitely meet again in the future. The two of them stood on their pirate ship and watched the dawn go away. On the deck of Daybreak, Hancock sat on the bow and blew the wind. Bai Yi hasn't finished yet, it's so boring. She held her chin with one hand and stared blankly ahead, but her thoughts had flown to nowhere. Suddenly, Bai Yi shouted excitedly from behind, Hancock, I'm done, come and see. Bai Yi ran out of the studio. It had been 3 months since he traveled back in time. His hair had grown a lot longer, but the immortal thief Luku kept him free of dirt. His hair was still black and shiny, as if it had just been washed. This time I didn't even wear shoes, I ran out with bare feet. But Hancock immediately noticed that he had a bunch of red beads on both wrists and ankles. But if you look closely, you can see that these beads are not strung on threads, but directly attached to Bai Yi's body surface. What's this? Hancock thinks these little red beads are pretty and wants them himself. Wudo Guy. Speaking of Bai Yi, it's like she demonstrated Wudo Guy's abilities. As chi unfolded, all the beads spread out from the wrists and evenly attached to the whole body. Adjacent beads were connected by red chi lines. Then, Bai Yi's whole body was covered in black. Like black armor. Fully armed, Hancock was stunned. Although she had also learned to practice chi, the first thing she thought of in this situation was armament hockey. Try attacking me. Bai Yi moved his hands and feet and finally refined the wudo gai. He wanted to test the strength of this armor. Seeing that he was serious, Hancock used physical attacks. Bai Yi stood motionless. The defensive power of this armor was extremely amazing. Try the fruit power again. Hancock was a little hesitant. After she attacked, she knew that the black layer was not armament hockey. It would be a disaster if Bai Yi was petrified by him. What are you afraid of? Even if I am petrified by you, you can still relieve me. Hancock then used Mero Mellow. Bai Yi is not a straight man without passion like Luffy. Mero Mellow is effective for him. But wudo gai is a magic weapon, and the black armor is the result of chi being transformed by the magic weapon. It is still chi in essence. Chi has a strong resistance to petrification. Although it took a lot of energy to carry Mero Mellow, he could still carry it easily. This effect satisfied him very much. After the experiment, he released Gai from wudo. With this magic weapon, my combat power will be increased by at least 30%. Bai Yi took off Gai's red beads from his body and handed them to Hancock. This one is for you. You are not the maker. It will take a lot of time to refine it with chi. I will refine another one. Hancock happily accepted the gift given to him by his favorite person. This kind of red beads is like a token of love, and she likes it very much. According to the method taught by Bai Yi, she began to use chi to refine wudo gai, and Bai Yi got into the studio again. He has been obsessed with refining weapons recently. When he came out of seclusion again wearing the refined wudo gai, he saw Salome, who was supposed to be in charge of sailing the ship, sitting on a chair on the deck, and Hancock was sitting on her body to bask in the sun. Why don't you move forward? He already knew the answer as soon as he asked the question. Because there is a cliff waterfall in front of you. Daybreak could no longer move forward. Bai Yi, is Wanokuni really here? Bai Yi has told Hancock the basic situation of Wanokuni, but she still doesn't believe that a country is on the cliff. If so, wouldn't it be impossible to get in and out? Yes, if you want to go in, you will need the help of a large sea beast. He walked to the side of the boat and looked into the sea. There were big fish here from time to time. He jumped into the sea and tried to catch the big carp. But those carp are strong and have slippery scales that make it easy for them to slip away. But he used chi to attract the carp, and with a strong pull, he pulled the carp over. This carp is indeed very strong, otherwise it would not be able to pull the boat. Hancock, throw a cable down. After tying the carp and connecting it to the boat, he followed the same pattern and caught 3 more fish. A total of 4 huge carp pulled the don and started climbing the waterfall. In fact, this is not the only way to enter Wanokuni. There is a dark cave behind the waterfall, and Kaido's beasts pirates enter and exit from there. But it was heavily guarded and no one could enter without Kaido's permission. Even if you break in by force, the people above will not pull you up without permission. So they can only take the path of climbing the waterfall. This journey is very thrilling, and the big carp will not help Daybreaker avoid coral reefs and large rocks. Bai Yi can only keep an eye on the front, and if there are obstacles, jump over them in advance to crush them. When the carp jumped onto the cliff, he immediately cut off the cable to avoid being dragged around by the carp and possibly causing the boat to capsize. After entering the Wanokuni inland sea, the currents here were very chaotic and the wind direction was extremely poor. Before they had gone far, they encountered a super large whirlpool. The huge suction force of the vortex was about to bring the dawn in, so Bai Yi quickly started the fully charged power unit and used full power to bypass the vortex. There is more than one whirlpool like this on the sea. But relying on Salome's increasingly superb boating skills and the power device refined by Bai Yi, they arrived at the beach of Wanokuni without any danger. Leaving Salome behind, the two stepped off the dawn, while Bai Yi thought about what he could do. Important characters here include Kazuki Hiori, the daughter of Kazuki Odin, and the few remaining members of the 9 Red Scabbards. Although Hiori has a noble status, it is of little use in promoting the plot. However, the title of the 3 beauties in the pirate world still makes Bai Yi extremely excited. Now Hancock is his wife. Shirahoshi also develops friendship with himself. The last Hiori, no matter whether it affects the world line or not, cannot be let go. In addition, there is Kurozumi Orochi, but this person is Kaido's puppet. If he is killed, it should not affect Kaido's plan. At most, it's just Kaido supporting another puppet. The only other available character is Yamato. Kaido's daughter Yamato is an important combat force in Wanokuni's plot. If she hadn't held Kaido for a while, how could Luffy have done sit-ups so many times? Having roughly determined the goal of this trip, he raised his head and looked ahead. Ayu was not born yet at this time, but under the rule of Kurozumi Orochi, the people of Wanokuni's life became worse and worse. The good news is that at this time, Kaido has not yet cooperated with Mangegaisa to produce artificial devil fruit. He only uses Wanokuni to make weapons and sell them. The two walked side by side, both walking barefoot on the beach. Their wrists and ankles bore Guy's red beads. These red beads will spontaneously form a small range of energy field, covering the hands and feet. Therefore, although they walk barefoot, their feet are not in direct contact with the ground, and there is still a distance of 0.01 millimeters in between. Only then did Bai Yi understand why Ma Shanong never wore shoes when he was in Bio village, because there was no need for them. Under the protection of wudo Guy, his feet are free from dust, and there are 6 immortal thieves in his body, so his body is free from leaks and dirt. Hancock, who had taken off his high heels, was as tall as Bai Yi. Their fingers were intertwined, and they really looked like a couple of gods. Walking slowly into the village, they stood out like candles in the dark night. Outlander, the sallow-looking villagers were obsessed with their beauty. There were a few villains who were greedy and wanted to possess Hancock, but Bai Yi crushed their throats easily. There are many unruly people in the poor mountains and rivers. They were certainly pitiful under the inhuman rule of the serpent. But pity cannot cover up the evil in human nature. Blood is the most shocking thing. The others immediately became honest. Excuse me, what is this place? Bai Yi, who had just killed someone, still had a bright smile on his face. Those women who were just shocked by his killing methods immediately fell into infatuation again, and even thought, it would be great if they could die in his hands. Sir, this is Fengli village. A girl answered with an anxious feeling. Very good. Bai Yi took out a piece of meat from the sack and gave it to the girl. This is your reward for answering the question. Although the girl is in her prime, her dark yellow skin tells of her malnutrition. Under the oppression of Kurozumi, everyone has to work for Kaido, producing weapons day after day. Their life was getting worse and worse, and the girl had never seen such a large piece of meat except for the fish she occasionally caught in the river. Thank you, sir. She nervously held the piece of meat in her arms, not minding the oil at all, and was afraid that others would snatch her meat away. Bai Yi also noticed her worries and said calmly, this piece of meat was given away by me. If anyone dares to steal it, these people will be punished. The villagers were shocked, and the girl looked at them with gratitude. We are going to the flower capital, can you lead the way? At this time, Hiori must have just said goodbye to Kawamatsu and was wandering around the flower city. I wonder if she met Kushiro. The girl immediately agreed. Yes, I can. Of course she is willing to help such a handsome adult, not to mention that the adult also gave her a huge piece of meat. Save this piece of meat and it will last a long time for the whole family. Also, that aloof woman is so beautiful. It would be great if she could touch my head. Blushing and quickly shaking her head to throw away these thoughts, she handed the piece of meat in her hand to a middle-aged man with a haggard look. Dad, Your Excellency gave this to us. Hide it well. She said loudly on purpose to let Bai Yi know that this middle-aged man was her father, and also to warn others not to rob their family of meat. Bai Yi smiled and said indifferently, let's go. The villagers looked at the meat in the man's hand and swallowed their saliva. But they were afraid of Bai Yi's strength and ruthlessness, and were also shocked by his ability to take out meat out of thin air, so they didn't dare to act rashly. On the way, the girl was excited and nervous. She really wanted to say something to the two adults, but she didn't dare. Bai Yi smiled and said, what's your name? When asked her name, the girl immediately became extremely happy. My name is Shinji. Sadako. Bai Yi looked at her in surprise, this name is really auspicious. While chatting with Shinji, they learned that everyone in Wanokuni was going to work in the weapons factory. But Kurozumi doesn't give money. Let them only drink gruel and eat a small amount of small dumplings. Long-term hunger will cause workers to lose their strength, and those who do not have the strength to make weapons will be exiled to farm and breed for the nobles. If you can work for a noble, you can still make a living. But if you don't even have this job, you will be exiled to the outskirts of Wanokuni and barely survive. Fortunately, the river water has not been polluted yet, so they will not starve to death. The Kurozumi snake is really nothing. It also illustrates Kazuki Odin's stupidity. Regarding Odin's remarks about being a fool, Shinji did not deny that there are still many people in Wanokuni who hate Odin and hate him for why he would do such a stupid thing when he clearly has the power to kill Kaido. As a result, not only did he get involved, but he also caused the entire country to suffer. The girl was weak and would soon be unable to walk, but she gritted her teeth and persisted. It wasn't until Bai Yi beat up a wild boar and let her ride on its back that the journey became faster. He and Hancock killed the blind people on the road with lightning speed. Although he is no match for Kaido, there is no character in Wanokuni that he can be afraid of. The appearance of the two people was quickly presented to Kurozumi. Foreigner. Kurozumi looked at the secretly photographed photo of Hancock and his mouth was watering. I want this woman. Go, send her over to me. Kill the man directly. Yes, I will send the woman here for the general. The light blue bun touched the ground in front of his forehead, and his slender eyes were extremely cold. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and his hand touched the sword at his waist. Goo hey 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 hey, I can rest assured that the Quang shalang is doing his job. ... In front of the flower capital, Shinji pointed at the prosperous and bustling city ahead, his eyes filled with yearning. Master Bai Yi, Master Hancock. The flower city is ahead. I can't go any further. A pariah like me will be beaten to death if he enters the flower city. Bai Yi nodded and had no intention of taking Shinji in. He beat the wild boar to death with one palm and said, take as much as you can, and we'll leave here. He beat the wild boar into submission. Once he leaves, he will definitely attack Shinji, so it is impossible for the wild boar to hump Shinji back. This is the only way to do it. Thank you, sir. Shinji lowered his head and thanked him again. When he looked up again, the two people who looked like a couple of gods had disappeared. We finally arrived at the flower capital, but where should we start? While Bai Yi was thinking, the guards of the flower capital surrounded them. Who are you? How dare you enter the flower city? When the guard captain saw Hancock, he couldn't take his eyes away immediately. What a beautiful woman, I must possess her. With that, he said to his guards, if you dare to enter the flower city without authorization, put that man in jail. Send the woman to me, I want to interrogate you personally. Two guards came forward to capture Bai Yi. Laozi has never seen such a beautiful woman in his life. If he can enjoy her for one night, it will be worth death. I wonder if the captain can let us brothers feel refreshed after using it. The two of them smiled lustfully and pulled out the sword from their waists, but the next moment, they were cut into two pieces by someone. The captain was so frightened that he peed. Kue, Quang shalang boss, they are outsiders who have entered the flower city without permission. Why? Quang shalang laughed evilly. General Orochi, you dare to get involved with women if you like them. The unsheathed long knife passed across the captain's throat. He looked at Bai Yi and the two of them. It's really not easy for outsiders to enter Wanokuni. This woman, come with me. General Orochi is interested in you. As for you, he pointed the knife at Bai Yi. General Orochi wants you to die. Crazy man. Bai Yi recognized Quang shalang at a glance, his look was so unique. If you want to kill me, I'm afraid you won't be enough. Oh, Quang shalang was also laughing. I have to try to find out whether I am good enough or not. Yeah, Bai Yi released his intertwined hands with Hancock. I will fight this battle. Yeah, Hancock stood aside obediently and did not make any move. Quang shalang's strength is even higher than that of Ling Kong Luzi. Even if he faces Jack, he probably won't lose. Fighting against him can greatly test your current combat power. The red beads on his wrists and ankles spread out, wudo guy instantly spread all over his body, and Bai Yi punched them away. Empty-handed, Quang shalang would not be careless because his enemy was empty-handed, so he slashed down with his sword and collided with Bai Yi's fists. Boom! The blade struck Gyudo, and sparks erupted. What a strong defense. Only when he could block his blade with his body could Quang Shilang be serious. His emission is already top-notch in the entire Wanokuni, except for the dead Kazuki Odin, so he is naturally invincible here. Except Beast's pirates. But the extremely handsome man in front of him actually blocked the emission hockey's blade with his bare hands. You are a master, but for the sake of the agreement 20 years later, I must kill you. Bai Yi blocked the blade with one punch, and the next moment he stepped forward, twisting his hips and kicking Kunkin with his right foot sideways. Ever since he killed Gil with this move, he has become fond of these sinister things. In a life and death battle, who tells you about martial ethics? Quang Shilang's lower body felt cold and he immediately ducked away, but Bai Yi followed him with his fist and thrust the two fingers of his left hand into his eyes. Crazy death man. Gone. This man is really nothing. I have experienced hundreds of battles and have never seen an opponent with such insidious tactics. Don't you have any dignity of the strong? But after all, he is a man who has experienced many battles. Quang Shilang quickly adapted to Bai Yi's attack rhythm, and even vaguely put Bai Yi at a disadvantage, never leaving his throat. This is a determination to carry out Orochi's order and to kill this man of unknown origin to show his loyalty. Bai Yi bent his elbow to block the blade, and roughly understood his current combat power level. His hockey and combat experience are worse than those of Kiyoshiro. But relying on Wudo Guy's defense, the magical power of fairy boy life, and the powerful physique provided by the immortal thief Luku, he was able to deal with it. However, the current Quang Shilang is not at his strongest yet. His best ability is the two-sword style inherited from Odin. But in order to deceive others, he did not use it in front of others. Bai Yi raised his hand to create a huge transparent cover, and cut Quang Shilang's waist with his knife. Feeling a huge threat, Quang Shiro immediately wrapped his waist with hockey, but his waist still felt like it was being cut. He glanced down. Fortunately, it was just an illusion. Bai Yi shook his head helplessly. Although the basic skills of op fruit were incomprehensible, it was difficult for hockey to have any effect on opponents who were higher than him, even if they were similar to him. If you want to use the fruit's ability to kill enemies, you still have to rely on the gamma knife. He leaned over and picked up a stone and threw it at Quang Shilang, but he easily dodged it. But the next moment, Bai Yi exchanged places with Shizi. A large amount of gamma rays gathered in his hand, forming a short sword, which pierced Quang Shilang's chest. Quang Shilang was shocked, but the distance between the two was too close, and it would be too late to return the sword, so he quickly gathered all the hockey towards his chest. But what he didn't notice was that just as the gamma knife and hockey were wrestling, Hancock quietly fired a kiss gun. Boom! The waist is petrified. Even the concentration of hockey in his chest was shaken away. Bai Yi took advantage of the situation and used the gamma knife to destroy Quang Shilang's heart in an instant. The swordsman twitched and fell down, and the red scabbard 9 heroes who were undercover next to the snake ended prematurely. In the corner of the street, a dirty little girl secretly saw this scene. She doesn't know Quang Shilang, let alone Bai Yi. However, at the moment Quang Shilang died, she only felt her heart throbbing, comforting that she had lost something important. Bai Yi turned over and landed. He had not originally planned to kill Quang Shilang directly, as such a powerful guy might not be able to take advantage of him. However, the other party's intention to kill him was obvious, and he could not hold back even if he was inferior in strength. He could only quietly hint to Hancock to plot against Quang Shilang at the critical moment. In this way, he would at least be rewarded by the system. Kill Crazy Death Lang Denjiro. This person is an important figure in the Wanokuni plot. The world line has changed slightly because of this, and the reward is the Great Merciful Hand. It turned out to be a Shaolin stunt. Bai Yi remembers that Brother Shao can use this martial arts to become a Gatling with great compassion. The ubiquitous big handprint can kill all enemies. The death of Kurozumi caused fear among his subordinates. They quickly fled and went to report the news to Kurozumi Orochi. After Bai Yi killed Quang Shilang, he ignored the fearful looks of the people around him and walked hand in hand with Hancock deep into the flower capital. On the road, I paid attention to everyone passing by, looking for a girl similar to Kazuki Hiori in my memory. Kurozumi Orochi was immediately furious after being reported by the younger brother of Kurozumi family. Kuai Shilang is dead. This waste. He snapped the case and stood up, calling troops. I must capture that woman. He is different from Kazuki Sukiyaki. With Kaido's support, he implements the most brutal dictatorship. Here, he can't get anything he wants. The imperial court banners accompanied him, Kurozumi Semimaru by his side. As he traveled, a large number of Wanokuni soldiers were also gathered and followed behind him. Wherever Bai Yi and Hancock went, everyone retreated. But seeing that they did not go on a killing spree, they were all quietly observing them from a distance. Who are these two people? How dare they kill the boss of the Quang shalang family? Looking like they are outsiders, they dared to stay in the flower capital without leaving after killing Quang shalang. Are they going to start a war with General Orochi? But behind Orochi is the Kaido of the beasts. No matter how powerful they are, how can they be the opponent of that kind of monster? Hey, I do hope they can defeat Orochi and Kaido. Hush, how dare you say such a thing and risk your life? The Wanokuni people were talking a lot. Except for the nobles, many people hoped that these two outsiders could kill the big snake. Old man, how to get to the general's mansion? He came to a restaurant owner with a smile and asked a question that frightened the owner. This old man didn't say anything to me for a long time. He was so scared to death. What does it mean to ask general's mansion? Going to war with the general. If they were defeated, wouldn't he, the guide, have to be held accountable by the snake? But soon he saw the savior, pointed in the distance and said, "Da, General Orochi is here." Oh, Bai Yi stood up straight, and a large group of soldiers appeared in the distance. In the center of the soldiers was a gorgeous sedan raised high. When the big snake got closer and closer to Hancock, he realized that this woman was 10,000 times more beautiful in person than in the photo. Drool unconsciously left the corner of his mouth, and the snake's eyes were almost crazy. I must get her. I must. The big snake, who has fallen under Hancock's beauty, has already fantasized about 108 positions in his mind. If you can get such a woman, it will be worth it even if you exhaust yourself and die. Bai Yi saw Wanokuni's large group of soldiers surrounding him, but he did not dodge. Stare directly at that sedan. And an octogenarian man was standing around the sedan. Kurozumi Semimaru. This old guy is still alive. As a barrier fruit user, it was precisely because of the protection of Kurozumi Semimaru's barrier that Orochi was able to run rampant in front of Odin. The barrier fruit that only has defensive capabilities truly brings defense to the ultimate level. I am afraid that even the 4 Emperor's level experts cannot forcefully break through the barrier defense. However, the corner of his mouth curled up. Although the barrier could not be broken, it did not mean that he could not kill the big snake. A square body emerged from the sedan. It was the big face of Kurozumi. Little beauty, what's your name? Orochi couldn't wait to break out of the protection of the guards and push Hancock down on his crotch. But Kurozumi Semimaru stopped him in time. Be careful. Those two can kill Kuroshiro, they are not weak. The big snake stopped now, but still yelled manically, why don't you bring that woman here quickly? General, leave it to us. The Uding fans came out in large numbers to perform meritorious deeds in front of the big snake. These 11 people are quite powerful, but in Bai Yi's eyes, they are nothing more than that. Room. The transparent cover unfolded and he quickly slashed it down with his sword, cutting everyone in the imperial court in half. Although he couldn't cut Kuroshiro, these ninjas weren't as strong as Haki. Even after being cut off from the waist, the Uding fans were still not dead, and they didn't even feel any pain. 2 bodies were pupae on the ground, their faces looked horrified. This ability was too weird. Clang. Another blow from the hand knife, and the members of the imperial court were cut into pieces even more. But they're still not dead. They can even feel their bodies next to them, trying hard to fuse their bodies together. But how could Bai Yi give them such an opportunity? The merciful and merciful hands continued to pat all these pieces of meat into a pulp. Now, they can no longer die. Unfortunately, killing the imperial fans did not trigger the system. But yes, these guys have very little impact on the world, and they have no role in advancing the plot. Their existence or not does not affect the progress of the world line. Seeing that the imperial guards were wiped out in an instant, Orochi panicked and hurriedly hid behind Kurozumi Semimaru. As long as there's that barrier, he'll be fine. Kurozumi Semimaru also saw this and used a barrier to block himself and Orochi to prevent Baiyi from sneak attack. Then, the big snake shouted to the soldiers fiercely, "Come on. Kill that man for me. Otherwise I will kill you all." The soldiers were afraid of Baiyi's methods, but they were also afraid of the cruelty of the big snake. After twitching for a while, they had to step forward carefully and tentatively. Baiyi sneered, "Do you think it will be fine if you release the barrier?" Room. The transparent cover spreads out and wraps Kurozumi in it. He threw up a pebble, and the next moment, the pebble swapped positions with the big snake behind the barrier. "Hello." Baiyi put a hand on the big snake's shoulder and showed him a bright smile. "You." The big snake was confused as to how he got into the opponent's hands. When he saw that bright smiling face, he backed away in fear. "Hey, why are you running? Don't you want my wife?" Baiyi's hands were like iron pliers, holding the big snake in place, completely unable to move. After hearing Baiyi's words, Dashi looked up at Hancock beside him. This woman was getting more and more beautiful. Especially at this close range, his body wanted to catch the beauty uncontrollably. It was so bold that the fear in his heart suddenly disappeared. Hancock frowned. She hated being stared at like this and wanted to kill the big snake, but since Baiyi held him down and didn't take action directly, there must be a specific reason, so she had to endure it first. The big snake had a ferocious expression on his face. "Do you think you can catch me like this?" Suddenly, the big snake's body changed rapidly and expanded, trying to break free from Baiyi's hand with huge force. Soon, a huge creature appeared in front of everyone. "That's a big snake with 8 heads. Ah, monster. General Orochi is also a monster." The onlookers in the distance shrieked and backed away. They had been in seclusion for many years. How could they know what devil fruit was? In their eyes, the big snake at this time is an out-and-out devil. Even the soldiers who wanted to step forward to protect the big snake did not dare to step forward for fear of being eaten by the monster. "Gu-hey-hey-hey-hey, your death has come." The big snake that transformed into Yamato no Orochi smiled wildly. However, when he looked at Baiyi and the man's fearful expression, he found that the man was also laughing. "Hey, what are you laughing at?" The other party also laughed, which made him not want to laugh for a moment, and he even became angry with embarrassment. "Me, I'm just waiting for you to turn into this form." Baiyi knows the power of the Orochi, and every head of the Yamato no Orochi is a life. If it were a big snake in murderous form, it would be too troublesome to kill it 8 times. It would be much easier to stimulate him directly, let him reveal the form of Yamato no Orochi, and directly chop off his 8 heads. "Baiyi, can I do it?" Hancock, who had been standing behind Baiyi, spoke up. She really couldn't stand the ugly look of the big snake. "Huh." Baiyi thought for a while. "Okay." Hancock nodded and shot Mero Mello directly onto the big snake. This guy who is full of lust and not much hockey is instantly petrified in Mero Mello. Looking at the petrified snake, Hancock just laughed. Although the snake was ugly in life, after being petrified, it would be a good streetscape ornament. When Baiyi heard the sound of the system's payment, he didn't care whether he wanted to smash the stone. "Kill the Kurozumi snake, Wanokuni's world line will be affected, and you will be rewarded with Ghost Shadow Walk." An extremely strange movement technique was directly integrated into Baiyi's body. He suddenly felt as light as a swallow, and his speed, jumping and other abilities were greatly improved. It can even erase your own sense of existence and make others subconsciously ignore your existence. With the new skills in hand, he felt a little bit itch, and his body moved. Wanokuni's soldiers only saw an afterimage, and they all died under Baiyi's palm. That is to say, when Baiyi was killing like crazy, he saw a little girl on the street corner not far away from the corner of his eye. Although the body is a little dirty, the long emerald hair is very conspicuous. The figure is a little thin, but the face under the soil can still see its natural beauty. And his clothes are exactly the same as when he came to the brothel in the anime. It should be Kazuki Hiori without a doubt. During this trip to Wanokuni, he killed Denjiro and Kurozumi in succession, and obtained Great Compassionate Hand and Ghost Shadow Walk. Now that we have found Kazuki Hiori, this trip is basically complete. During the ghostly walk, he came to Hiori in a blink of an eye. The little girl who was quietly watching the battle suddenly saw the strong man who killed the big snake appearing in front of her. Before she could scream in surprise, Bai picked her up, put her under her arm and took her away. Let's go. Arriving at Hancock's side, the remaining Wanokuni soldiers besieging them had all been petrified by slave arrow. Who is she? Hancock looked curiously at the little girl held under Bai's arm. This girl was about 12 or 13 years old, and her original beauty could be vaguely seen under the mud. But why did Bai catch a little girl? If this girl was a girl of 16 or 17, Hancock might still be jealous, but at such a young age, she was definitely not coveting her body. Bai said as he walked, "This girl is not simple. I will tell you slowly when I get back." Of course he won't tell Hancock that he wants to raise a loli. Hiori was only 13 years old at this time, and she was a real little loli. It would be nice to raise a little loli by yourself. The big snake was petrified, and Kaido arranged for the pirates in Wanokuni to immediately inform Kaido of the news. Gululu. On Onigashima, Kaido is holding a wine gourd and drinking heavily. This is his only hobby. Beep beep, beep beep. The phone rang, and a drunk Kaido picked up the phone. Ooh. Kaido let out his characteristic laugh. Kaido-sama. General Wanokuni Kurozumi Orochi was killed by 2 outsiders. What? Kaido was furious. He didn't care about Orochi's life or death, but his death would affect his rule over Wanokuni. It's only been 7 years since Odin's death, but there are still many Odin diehards in Wanokuni. He jumped into a fight, took Jin and a large number of pirates, and headed for Wanokuni. News of Kurozumi's death soon spread, and Wanokuni immediately caused quite a commotion. In Fengli village, an old man wearing a big Tengu mask stood up excitedly when he heard the news. He is General Wanokuni, father of Kazuki Odin, Kazuki Sukiyaki, who took the alias Tenguyama Hitotsu in order to escape persecution. Could it be that the prophecy of time has come? But why is it less than 20 years? The one who came was not a samurai. He couldn't figure it out, but Orochi's death was definitely an opportunity. No, Orochi's death is just a rumor. I want to confirm whether the rumor is true or false. At the foot of a large mountain, a fat man stood there in a daze, his hand holding the wine gourd trembling. Is Orochi dead? Kinemon, or Kinemon and the others back? I'm going to have a look. Although it's less than 20 years ago, Master Shi's prediction will not be wrong. After the bell, a green fishman heard a villager talking about this, and he suddenly burst into tears. Hiori-sama, if you wait another month, our hope will come. I wonder if you are okay now. In Ebisu town, an old man in tattered clothes grabbed a young man and asked, "What did you just say?" General Orochi is dead. He was killed by 2 outsiders. Moreover, Orochi turned out to be a monster, and now the monster is petrified on the streets of the Flower City. Shimotsuki Yasui could no longer hear what he said after that. All he could think of was, the big snake is dead. The big snake is dead. The big snake is dead, now is a good opportunity. He immediately set off for Baiwu. He was once the famous name of Baiwu. Although he had been anonymous for 7 years, he must still have his old tribe there. The chaos in Wanokuni is not only the remnants of Odin, but also many upstarts who were promoted due to Orochi's rise to power. Now that the big snake is dead, their ambitions are just around the corner. You may not be able to become the next general, but some people understand that the one who really controls Wanokuni is the beast's pirates, the monster like Kaido. Therefore, they immediately tried to contact Kaido. As long as they had Kaido's support, they could enjoy everything that Orochi once enjoyed. But all this has nothing to do with Bai. He and Hancock have returned to Wenli village. On the way, he also met the girl Shinji who brought them to the Flower City, so he got another wild boar and brought it back. Where is Yama? Bai suddenly asked the little Lolita riding on the wild boar. Hiori was stunned for a moment. How does he know about Yama? How does he know that I know about Yama? He knows my identity. Who is he? Why does he know this? Hiori's already anxious mood was now even more tense. But Bai did not continue to ask, but asked Shinji. Do you know where Tenguyama Hito lives? Hitotsu Tenguyama is a very famous swordsmith here, and Shinji naturally knows about it. So he personally led the way as if taking credit, and brought them to Fight's residence in Tengu Mountain. Knocked on the door, but no one answered. Isn't the person here? He violently kicked open the door and walked into the house. As soon as I entered, I saw many swords placed among them. But he could also see that these knives were ordinary goods. And the purpose of his coming here is Tenu Yuzan and second-generation Ghost Tetsu. Since the owner was not here, he started rummaging through the boxes without any courtesy. With the earthly immortal here, he didn't even let go of the underground. Finally, in a box, he found these two sharp knives. It is indeed a good knife. As a grandmaster, he immediately saw the extraordinary quality of the two knives and rubbed them repeatedly in his hands. But this scene was shocking in Hiori's eyes. She recognized her father's sword Tenu Yuzan, but why did this weirdo know that her father's sword was here? Who kept his father's sword here? Her face was full of doubts, but she didn't dare to ask, and Bai Yi didn't mean to answer his questions. Haha, I will kill the big snake for you, and these two knives will be your reward. He happily put the two knives into his pouch. This ability to hide objects out of thin air once again made Hiori open her mouth in surprise. Finding paper and pen from the table, he left a note for the sukiyaki. Kill the thief for you, and you will be repaid with two swords. On the daybreak, Salome saw her master returning and happily went up to post some stickers. Hancock also stroked its head lovingly. After getting on the boat, Bai Yi roughly determined the direction and asked Salome to drive in the direction of the ghost island in his memory. On the deck, Bai Yi, Hancock, and Kazuki Hiori were all sitting around a table enjoying the sea breeze. Bai Yi, who is this girl? Hancock had already given Kazuki Hiori a bath and given her some food as she was hungry. Today Hiori looks very delicate and cute. Bai Yi looked at Hahei with squinted eyes. Hahei sat there nervously, not daring to move. She's Kazuki Hiori. Hancock had no feelings for this name, but to Hiori's ears, it was like a bolt from the blue. He really knows who I am. But why did he bring me out? Why kill the big snake? Raihei didn't say a word, and Bai Yi didn't care. He told Hancock about Raihei's life experience. Her family was once the ruler of this country. Her grandfather, Kazuki Sukiyaki, was the Wanokuni shogun, and her father, Kazuki Odin, was the Guri daimyo. Hancock was still not interested in these, but Hiori was more and more shocked. Kazuki Odin, once a member of Whitebeard's crew, later boarded Roger's ship. They even reached the final place, Raftel. That's where the legendary One Piece treasure is hidden. At this point, Hancock became interested. Who hasn't heard of Roger's name in the Great Pirate Era? Who hasn't heard of the legend of One Piece? And after, Hancock held his chin and listened to Bai Yi's story. So, Bai Yi told her about Odin's return to Wanokuni, Orochi's conspiracy, battle with Kaido, naked butt dancing, defeat and death, etc. This Kazuki Odin is really a fool. Hancock scoffed at Odin's response. But this sentence annoyed Kazuki Hiori, who had been listening quietly to the story. Father is not a fool. He is a hero. He made such a sacrifice for the sake of the country. She argued loudly, and Hancock looked at her with a strange expression. We obviously have the strength to defeat Kaido, but we have to give the enemy a chance to develop. Obviously there is a friendship between Whitebeard and Roger, but they don't use it. He had at least 100 ways to kill Orochi and expel Kaido, but he chose the most failed method. What is this other than a fool? Hiori blushed with excitement. Orochi threatened his father with innocent citizens, he had to do this. Threat. Hancock felt even more ridiculous. This is war, and you will compromise after being threatened. If you place your hope on the enemy's conscience, you might as well pray to God to kill the enemy directly. Isn't it good to sacrifice a few people in exchange for the well-being of the entire country? Hiori stood up excitedly at this time. Those people are also Wanokuni citizens. Why should they sacrifice? Hancock said. So, in order to so-called save a few innocent people, now the whole Wanokuni has suffered. Aren't these people innocent? They could have lived a peaceful life. Hiori still wanted to argue, but was speechless. Also, why didn't he ask for help from Roger's crew or Whitebeard? Hiori's voice has become much softer. This is our Wanokuni matter, how can we trouble others? Haha, Bai Yi couldn't help but laugh. If Odin really serves the country and the people, he will invite these helpers even if he kneels down and begs. He can dance with his bare butt regardless of face, but he can't ask for help from his companions. What is this if not a big fool? Your Highness, the fool is really right. No, it's not. Hiori sounded panicked. frantically making excuses for his father's actions, but in the end he found that he was speechless. Wu, however, she was unwilling to accept the fact that her father was a fool, and she couldn't help crying. This person is obviously so good-looking, but why is he so annoying? Looking at the crying girl, Hancock was a little puzzled. She now felt that not only Odin was a fool, but his daughter was also so stupid. I really don't know why Bai Yi brought her out. Glancing at Bai Yi sneered. Anyway, it's not for Lolita development. Take Kazuki Hiori out of Wanokuni, the world line will change slightly, and the reward will be Tai Chi. I got another reward from the system. It seems that it was right to abduct Hiori. A profound boxing principle appeared in his mind, and he immediately understood what Tai Chi was. Although in the alien world, this kind of martial arts seems so ordinary, the king also relies on it to protect himself. There is always a great truth in the ordinary. In the future, his melee combat ability will also be greatly improved. Salome sailed to Ghost Island without encountering any obstacles along the way. It seems that his guess is correct. Orochi's death will inevitably lead Kaido to personally resolve the subsequent turmoil in Wanokuni. Hancock didn't care where Bai Yi was going, but Heihei was not qualified to ask. They looked at the building that looked like a huge skeleton and felt quite eerie. On the shore of Ghost Island, Bai Yi said to Hancock, "You stay here. If you encounter an enemy, leave directly. I have the ability to escape and can escape." Hancock had seen his earthly immortal and knew he could walk underground. Although she was reluctant to separate from him, she had heard of Kaido's reputation. To prevent accidents, she nodded and agreed, "Hold this phone bug. If there is an accident, we can contact you at any time." Bai Yi put the phone bug into the phagocytosis sac. This guy spends most of his time sleeping, and his gnawing bag can be collected. When he set foot on the Ghost Island, he didn't know where he was now and wandered forward aimlessly. "Hey, who are you?" Several pirates discovered Bai Yi, who invaded Onigashima and quickly surrounded him. Finally someone. Bai Yi was very happy and showed a bright smile to these pirates. "Hello, my name is Bai Yi. Is Master Yamato here?" Pirates. "No, who are you? Do we know you?" They searched their minds and didn't know who the person who called himself Bai Yi was. "Master Yamato has never left the island, how could he know someone like you?" The pirate who finally had a better brain realized something was wrong and wanted to take down Bai Yi with his sword. Why? He turned his wrist, then pushed out his palm, and a huge palm print hit these pirates in an instant. The tyrannical force knocked them away, and the force even invaded the body, destroying their internal organs. Withdrawing his palm, he continued to ask a pirate who was left behind with a smile. "Excuse me, where is Master Yamato?" The pirate was so frightened that he trembled all over. The key point was that he was just an ordinary pirate. How could he know Yamato's whereabouts? But the noise coming from here attracted the attention of the beast's pirates who were staying behind. Enemy attack! Enemy attack! In a laboratory on Onigashima, a very fat pirate was researching potions. Even if he heard the sound of enemy attacks, he had no intention of going out. But a 15-year-old boy was the first to lead the team towards the sound. "Are you the intruder?" The young man is extremely strong, at least 5 meters tall. She has yellow braids and a mouth full of fangs that look like jagged teeth. Doesn't look human. Bai Yi only thought that the young man from Gundam looked familiar, but he couldn't remember who he was for a while. "I want to protect Onigashima for Kaido-sama. Kill all intruders." The young man obviously had no intention of introducing himself, so he pulled out a huge sword from his waist and slashed at Bai Yi. The ghost walk was activated. Bai Yi looked like a ghost, and he came to the inner edge of the blade in a flash. He reached out and grabbed the pirate's wrist. The powerful force made it impossible for the other party to break free. On one side of his steps, the other hand grabbed the man's belt, and then he slashed with such force that he was instantly knocked down. This is the skill of Tai Chi, to use force. Even if the opponent wraps around armament hockey in time, he cannot resist. After being knocked down, Bai Yi did not stop attacking, and hit him with a big hand seal next to him. Boom! Dust was flying and the man vomited blood. But his physical body is extremely strong, and he was able to stand up even after receiving a palm from the great merciful hand. The physiques of the creatures in the pirate world are indeed pervert. Bai Yi wasn't surprised either. With both palms raised, he blasted out 7 big hand seals in a row. At present, he has not reached Xiaozizai's level of great mercy and Gatling. These 7 large mudras are already the limit of his continuous attacks. The enemy was frightened, and 1 big hand seal shot would seriously injure him, let alone 7 shots. With a roar, he concentrated his whole body haki, waved the steel knife in his hand, and slashed towards the big hand seal. This one was of good quality, and after a period of cultivation by haki, it only broke into pieces after blocking 4 large hand seals. It's over, Master Kaido, I will follow you in my next life. The young pirate muttered to himself, with a look of despair in his eyes. But the next moment, a beautiful figure fell beside him, and a huge mace completely defeated the other 3 large hand seals. Da, Master Yamato. When he saw this person clearly, he immediately breathed a sigh of relief. With Master Yamato here, this enemy would definitely be captured. But he blames himself for being too weak. To resist the intruders, Master Yamato actually needs to take action himself. Is it finally out? Bai Yi saw this familiar outfit, pretty face, graceful figure, and seastone explosive bracelets on both hands. It was Yamato himself. He stopped attacking the pirate, stood with his hands behind his back, and smiled at Yamato. My lord, Bai Yi, I have met Master Yamato. Yamato looked at him solemnly, telling himself directly that this man was dangerous. Jack, please retreat and recuperate first. Chapter 41. So that stupid guy is Jack. It's a pity that I couldn't kill him directly before. As one of the 3 major targets of the 100 Beasts group in the future, I don't know if there will be any system reward for killing Jack now. There should be. After all, if Jack died, the tragedy of the furry principality would not have happened. This would be a relatively big change to the world line. Bai Yi glanced at the young pirate who was almost killed by him. Jack was probably only 15 years old at this time. Did he join the Beast's pirates so early? Moreover, from the fight just now, he also understood that Jack had not yet eaten the mammoth fruit at this time. He's just a new pirate. You should leave quickly while Kaido is not here, otherwise, when Kaido comes back, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. When Yamato faced Bai Yi, instead of directly attacking him, he persuaded him to leave. But her words also completely undermined the fact that Kaido left. This made Bai Yi feel relaxed. If he dares to come to Ghost Island, he relies on the earthly immortal and the ghostly shadow. If his prediction is wrong and Kaido does not leave, then he has a way to escape. That's why he kept Hancock and Hiori on the ship. With its own power system, it would be impossible for Kaido to catch up with Daybreak. But now I heard that Kaido is indeed not here, which is more conducive to the implementation of his plan. This is Bai Yi, born in North Blue, and now the husband of Amazon Lily Emperor Boa Hancock. Bai Yi solemnly introduced himself. As he spoke, the red beads on his wrists and ankles spread out, and wudo guy wrapped his body. I've heard for a long time that Kaido's daughter is a heroine, so I came here to learn from her. As the ghost walked down, Yamato could barely see a blurry shadow, and she secretly thought something bad in her heart. However, with the combat intuition she had developed over many years, she still blocked Bai Yi's attack with the mace Jian in time. However, Bai Yi also took advantage of this opportunity to get close and used Tai Chi to completely control Yamato's attack in his own hands. The mace is powerful and heavy, but at such a close distance, it cannot exert its power at all. Bai Yi knows that Yamato has a cheerful nature, and convincing her with fighting will be more beneficial to his future speaking skills. But he was quite surprised that Yamato could completely ignore his bone scraper power. Although as long as Haki is strong enough, he can resist this kind of charm ability. But there shouldn't be any strange look. This can only show that in Yamato's mind, he has completely regarded himself as a man, so he will not be attracted to Bai Yi. But how? Bai Yi decided to straighten out Yamato's gender identity in the future. Yamato was feeling extremely frustrated at this time. She learned her mace from Kaido and had a wide range of moves, but at this moment she couldn't use it at all. You also need to be on guard from time to time against Bai Yi's compassionate hands. She has never heard of these strange abilities. Thunder 8 trigrams. Yamato wrapped the conquerors around the mace while always paying attention to where Bai Yi was attacking so that he could protect it with his weapon color in time. She had to give it a go and force Bai Yi out of a certain range before she could let go of the fight. However, who would have expected that Bai Yi didn't dodge, and struck her waist with his compassionate hand, seemingly not seeing the mace that was about to open her up. Yamato was a little angry, but she was still unwilling to kill Bai Yi directly. Thunder 8 trigrams slightly deflected the direction and changed the target from Bai Yi's head to the shoulder. Destroy your shoulders and you should stop. But 5 mask-like shields appeared on Bai Yi's body, blocking the mighty Thundering 8 trigrams without any damage. Although she used her armor to protect her waist in time, she still felt a sharp pain like her internal organs were upside down after being hit at such a close distance by a compassionate hand. What's that mask? Devil fruit. While Yamato was breathing heavily, Bai Yi stopped. Why don't you attack? Yamato asked doubtfully. If that guy keeps using that kind of violent attack, he will definitely be defeated. But why did he stop? Bai Yi exited the form of wudo guy, and the red beads were attracted to his wrist again. Your power has been sealed. Even if you can win now, I will be unable to win. He pointed at the bomb bracelet on Yamato's wrist. If I'm not mistaken, that is sea stone. As demon fruit power, he can still fight me to this extent even though he is sealed by sea stone. He looked directly into Yamato's eyes and said seriously, you will definitely be able to surpass Kaido in the future. Yamato was shocked by these words. Beyond Kaido. That has been her dream all along, because only by surpassing Kaido can she defeat Kaido and found a country for Wanokuni. This is what she's been wanting to do since she got the Odin diary. However, neither Kaido nor anyone else in Beast's Pirates believed that she could one day surpass Kaido. But this man whom he met for the first time actually believed in him so much. Why do you say that? What on earth are you here for? Me, I'll take you out to sea. Bai Yi's bright smile, in Yamato's eyes, was as warm as sunshine. Go out to sea. Why? She looked at Bai Yi in disbelief. This man said he wanted to take her out to sea. Why? He also has a bracelet that explodes when he leaves the island, so how can he escape from Kaido's palm? Just when Bai Yi was about to speak, the pirates surrounding them said carefully, Master Yamato, do you need to ask for reinforcements? Master Quinn is still in the laboratory. Faced with his kindness, Yamato shouted loudly, shut up. The pirate retreated shyly. Bai Yi said, isn't it your dream to go to sea? If you want to defeat Kaido, how can you be trapped on the ghost island all the time? Only by going to sea and seeing the outside world can you grow. Now, Odin, a big fool, can become your idol. Only when you really go to sea will you realize how ridiculous your thoughts are. Shut up. Yamato, who was deeply moved, became furious when he heard that he despised his idol Kazuki Odin. Kazuki Odin is a real man. I want to be like him. What qualifications do you have to slander Odin? Bai Yi spread his hands. Are you going to be the person who puts Wanokuni into misery like him? That was not Odin's intention. It was because Orochi and Kaido were too insidious that Odin accidentally lost. Bai Yi sneered. In a life and death battle, how do you count on the enemy's character? The moment Kaido plotted to seize Wanokuni, he was already Odin's unrelenting enemy. For such an enemy, we must eliminate him by any means, rather than stupidly dance naked to give the enemy time to develop. The dignity of the strong. Compared with the safety of the people of a country, what is the moral integrity he abides by? At most, he is just self-motivated. The surrounding pirates couldn't help but look at each other when they saw that the two people fighting were actually quarreling. What the hell kind of development is this? Two pirates quietly exited. They were middle-level officers of the Beast's Pirates. One of them went to report to Quinn who was undergoing a silent experiment. The other person picked up the communication conch and told Kaido what happened here. In the field, Yamato took a big breath, which was because Bai Yi was angry. Odin has almost become her belief in life. Now that someone wants to destroy this belief, how can she not be angry? Bai Yi was not surprised at all by Yamato's reaction. You got Odin's voyage diary. When you know his experience, you have powerful partners like Roger's group and Whitebeard's group, but you don't ask for help. Instead, you insist on going your own way, letting Wanokuni fall into the hands of evil people. If you were Odin, would you be like him, trying to defeat the enemy and the enemy's conspiracy by yourself? Even if the people suffer because of your decision-making. Yamato was speechless. She had never thought of this, and no one had ever said this to her before. Her admiration for Odin is all due to the cauldron torture she witnessed when she was a child. A man who plunged himself into a pot of oil and held up all his retainers. Even at the last moment of his life, he could still say with a smile, "The boiling oil and hot soup can't do anything to me. It tastes better after thousands of boilings." When she was young, she just thought that such a man was so cool. She took it for granted that this was a real man, and from then on she targeted Odin, automatically putting on a filter when looking at all of Odin's actions. But now, this filter has been ruthlessly broken by a strange man. "Do you want to go to sea with me? You still have to decide what is right or wrong." Bai Yi's fierce tone softened and he extended an invitation to the girl. Going to sea. Yamato is not so resistant to Bai Yi now. The first thing this man said when he saw her was to take her out to sea, but how could she go out? He raised his wrist dejectedly. "I can't go to sea. Once I leave the ghost island, this bracelet will explode. Besides, I ate the devil fruit and became a landlubber. I have no connection with the sea in this life." Bai Yi was speechless. "So what if you eat devil fruit? Isn't your father Kaido also a person with abilities? Didn't he also become a great pirate who controls the world? Whitebeard, Big Mom, they are all strong pirates like the Emperor of the Sea, but they are also demon fruit power. Marine Admiral Buddha Sengoku, Vice Admiral Porosalino, Sakazuki, Kuzan, are also ability users. Isn't it the same as traveling across the sea?" Yamato was moved by him, but he felt desperate when he thought about the explosive bracelet. "Where is this bracelet?" Bai Yi smiled confidently. "It's just a bomb bracelet." As he spoke, he stepped forward, put his hand on the bomb bracelet, activated the magic machine, and completed the transformation of objects and objects in an instant. The next moment, the bracelet fell off Yamato's wrist. Really removed it? No explosion. It turns out Kaido didn't really want to blow me up. Yamato murmured to himself, but Bai Yi is not here to help them restore their father-daughter relationship. Throw the bracelet far away and activate the bomb placed inside. A violent explosion sounded, and a large group of pirates surrounding them died from the explosion. Gone. The pirates who were at a loss surrounding Bai Yi were made furious by the sudden explosion. Regardless of obeying Yamato's order, they each waved their weapons to kill Bai Yi. At this time, Yamato was still in a daze, and Bai Yi added another sentence. "Kazuki Odin's daughter, Kazuki Hiori, is on my ship right now." This sentence directly ignited Yamato's fighting spirit, and he wielded the mace to knock down all the pirates who attacked Bai Yi. "Okay, I'll go to sea with you." The surrounding beasts' pirates were completely confused. They watched helplessly as the two of them went from fighting to arguing to joining forces in just a few minutes. Where am I? Who I am? What happened? It wasn't until a large number of pirates were defeated by Yamato that some pirates screamed and ran away, not forgetting to shout, "Go and report to Mr. Quinn. Master Yamato has been instigated by the intruders." Bai Yi allowed the pirates to escape without killing them all. He grabbed Yamato, who was full of fighting spirit. "Is there a sea stone here?" Yamato was confused. "There is a warehouse containing sea stone, but what do you want this for?" Bai Yi said, "Take me there quickly." In confusion, Yamato took Bai Yi to the warehouse where sea stones were stored, and smashed open the door of the warehouse with an iron rod. Seeing that it was full of sea stone materials, Bai Yi excitedly took out the capsule and filled it up. I heard the shouting of killing approaching from behind, and it seemed that there was also Quinn's voice. Quinn is stronger than Quang Shalang, and Bai Yi doesn't want to fight him now. Let's go quickly." Yamato was surprised at where those sea stones were hidden by Bai Yi. Before he could ask, he was pulled away by Bai Yi and ran away. "What did you do just now? Why did those sea stones disappear?" While running away, she didn't forget to ask about it. "It's just a small prop. When you join us, I'll give you one too." Can this thing still be given away? Yamato thought that this ability must be some kind of treasure, but Bai Yi actually said to give him one. He must consider me a friend. Since we are friends, I should repay him. Bai Yi didn't know that Yamato had wild thoughts in his mind, and Luffy rushed to the dawn. Hancock and Kazuki Hiori were shocked to see Bai Yi pulling a girl and jumping into the boat, and behind them were countless beasts chasing them. "You came to Ghost Island just to kidnap and traffic girls," Bai Yi said. "She is Kaido's daughter. Let's go." The enemy is coming. The two of them were immediately shocked. So Bai Yi came to Ghost Island just to abduct Kaido's daughter. The two looked at Yamato, but Yamato's eyes were only on Hiori. This appearance is hers, yes, it must be Odin's daughter Hiori. Are you Kazuki Hiori? Yamato grabbed Hiori's hand and asked impatiently. Hiori, what does this person mean? Your father is my father killing enemy. Why the expression of joy? Yes, I will definitely hit Kaido in the future. She wanted to withdraw her hand, but her strength was too weak, so she had to say these words with a fierce look on her face. Unexpectedly, Yamato became even more excited after hearing this. Great. I will accompany you to defeat Kaido in the future. Hiori, what kind of tiger wolf talk is this? The one I want to defeat is your father. The ignorant girl was immediately fooled by Yamato. But Yamato didn't notice it at all. He took out the Odin diary from his majestic mind and said to Hiori excitedly. This is Odin's diary, I read it every day. I exist just to be like Odin. From now on, I am Kazuki Odin, and I am your father. Hiori, she felt like she was going crazy. The daughter of her father's enemy not only said she wanted to defeat her father, but also wanted to be her father. Her little mind seemed to have been greatly persecuted, and her brain was shut down. Until Hancock, who was bored listening to them talking next to him, said. Are you going to be a fool like Odin? Then, two murderous eyes stared over. Odin, Dad, is not a fool. The two said in unison, and Hiori suddenly felt that this girl who wanted to be her father seemed much more pleasing to her eyes. However, they quickly thought of what Bai Yi said before. Yes, thinking about it now, what Odin, father, did was so stupid. The two of them lowered their heads in despair. Hancock looked at their rich expressions in confusion and quietly pointed to his head towards Bai Yi. Are they injured here? Bai Yi. With the cheerful Yamato joining us, the boat quickly became lively. What? You're only 15. Hiori looked at Yamato's majestic mind in disbelief, and then at her little bun. It was hard to believe that this girl who wanted to be her own father was only 2 years older than her. Moreover, she is so tall. Yamato, who is 15 years old, is already over 2 meters tall, taller than Hancock. Moreover, Bai Yi knows that this is not the limit of Yamato. In the future, Yamato can grow to 263 centimeters. In fact, Hiori's steamed buns are not too small, but she has been homeless and malnourished all year round, which naturally affects her physical development. As one of the 3 beauties in the pirate world, how could her figure be so bad? Wanokuni, when Kaido saw the petrified Yamato no Orochi in the middle of the streets of Flower City, he was sure that the stone statue was Kurozumi no Orochi. The mace in his hand smashed down angrily, smashing the stone statue into pieces. He didn't care about the life or death of the big snake, but the big snake couldn't die now. Without the big snake, Wanokuni would be in chaos. Sir Kaido, a group of samurai are coming to kill us. Jin asked for orders. I'll kill them all. The pteranodon takes off. How can the warriors of Wanokuni be the opponent of the fire disaster? Suppressing these warriors is not difficult, but how to rule afterward? Jin returned soon, understanding Kaido's concerns. Kaido-sama, why not just let Master Yamato be Wanokuni's general? Jin's proposal was not unexpected. This was Kaido's plan, but it was still too early. And the traitor's head is full of Odin. At this moment, several mafia families and nobles have sent treasures, and they want to curry favor with Kaido to become the next general. Master Kaido, choosing these people is of little use. It is better to just let Master Yamato be the general. She is your son after all. In Jin's persuasion, Kaido also felt that it made sense. Okay, go and bring Yamato here. Wanokuni will be our beast's pirates from now on. At this moment, the communication conch sounded, and Kaido answered. Yamato ran away with a stranger. Kaido was shocked when he heard this. Who is it? Where's the bomb bracelet? And where's Quinn? He asked several questions in succession. When he learned what happened from the pirate's mouth, Kaido looked gloomy. Bai Yi, it's this person again. Jin listened briefly and understood what happened. He said to Kaido. Kaido-sama, I'm going to bring Master Yamato back. But Kaido stopped him. Forget it, let her go. Wanokuni's matters are more important now. Kuji, let's meet them another day. At the Wanokuni Inland Sea Falls, the daybreak has returned the same way. The moment the ship jumps off the waterfall, the system's reward finally arrives. Abduct Yamato and go to sea. Yamato is an important plot character. The world line will change as a result, and the reward is Phantom Body Barrier. It turned out to be the Tang sect's illusory body barrier. This is a stealth skill. Coupled with Gui Yingxing, who obliterates his own existence, and the immortal thief Luku, who does not leak his aura at all, Bai Yi feels that he is already the top killer in the world. Although there is no concept of qi in the pirate world, the essence of seeing and hearing color is similar to that of perceiving breath. Now, in addition to the high-level knowledge and color that can predict the future, if he wants to assassinate a person, it is basically impossible for that person to detect it. I still need to continue to practice my knowledge. If you want not to be predicted by the sight, hearing, and color, then you can only learn the higher level ability of the sight, hearing, and color, the sight, hearing, and killing. Let's go back and ask Rayleigh for advice. Even if he hasn't seen the killing, he is probably not far behind. There were Yamato and Hiori on the road, and it suddenly became a lot more lively. Especially when Yamato went to sea for the first time, everything was so new to her. You said the side effects of devil fruit can be eliminated. It was the first time Yamato heard this saying. You know, even her father Kaido was a landlubber in the sea. Certainly. Bai Yi took out a flying knife from the sack and controlled its flight like an object. Room. The invisible shield opened, and the positions of him and the flying knife were instantly swapped. Op Fruit and Shenji Bai Lian are really a perfect match. This flying knife was refined by him in the past few days. With his current ability to control objects, he can control up to 18 flying knives at one time. But if you want to control it carefully, there are only 12 handles. But when he fights, he usually also uses Crow Do Gai at the same time, so he only has 9 flying knives that he can use for distraction. This is not because his chi is not as good as Jia Zhengliang, but because he lacks proficiency. These flying knives have no handles, only blades. Anyway, it is a royal object, so you don't need to hold it with your hands, and it can avoid attracting enemies without a handle. However, he found that the power of flying knives used in the form of a sword was not high, and it was impossible to penetrate armament hockey, an enemy of the same level. We still have to find a way to increase the power of the flying knife. Turning over and falling, he retracted the throwing knife and said to Yamato, "This is my fruit ability, Paramecia's op fruit." Then, he came to the side of the ship, jumped off, and jumped into the sea. He even made a beautiful dive. After swimming in the sea for a while, the flying knife flew out of the bag. He stepped on the back of the flying knife and flew back to the dawn. How? Yamato's eyes were full of stars. Can you teach me this? As soon as she finished speaking, she thought that this ability must be Bai Yi's special skill. How could she just ask for other people's special skills? But Bai Yi nodded and said, "Okay, I'll teach you the basic abilities first." Yamato was stunned. Is it okay? He actually wanted to teach me. Even though this guy talks bad about Odin, he is a good guy. Yamato apologized for Bai Yi in his heart. Bai Yi did not directly teach Yamato the Luku Immortal Thief, and he does not fully trust Yamato yet. But there was no problem in teaching Chi's cultivation method to her. Close your eyes and meditate, feel the meridians, and the Chi movement rises and falls. Yamato listened carefully to Bai Yi's teachings, and Hiori also listened quietly with straight ears. You come and learn too. He extended an invitation to Hiori, who was secretly stealing the army. Ah, can I do that too? Hiori was pleasantly surprised. She had been in panic all day long since she was taken out of Wanokuni by Bai Yi. She didn't know why Bai Yi wanted to kidnap her, so she had always been cautious. You don't want to defeat Kaido and restore the country. Bai Yi's words immediately made the little loli full of fighting spirit. Yes. Of course I do. Mom said that the red scabbard warrior will return in 20 years to defeat Kaido, and my brother will also come back at that time, and he will become a general. Quote. When Yamato heard this, he quickly said, I know. If you don't know the bright moon, if you get what you want, 20 years will weave into a bright moon night, and 9 shadows will fall in the sky, you will know the dazzling dawn. She tried her best to imitate Tianyu's tone and said these words. Hiori looked at her blankly, as if he had returned to the night when his mother died. Your brother's name is Momonosuke. They will definitely come back. Listening to their conversation, Bai curled his lips. Nothing else mattered, but Momonosuke must die. But you can't tell them this. Since you want to restore the country, how can you do it if you don't have the strength? Why can Kaido be so unscrupulous? It's because of his superior force. It's a force that even Odin can't defeat easily. If you really want to restore the country, you will need a force stronger than Odin. Hiori looked at him blankly. Is it possible to have a force stronger than my father? How is it impossible? Where is Odin? Bai said. As far as I know, there are at least 10 people stronger than Odin in this world. Hiori didn't believe it. There are so many people stronger than my father. Yes, so it is not difficult to surpass Odin, as long as you are willing to work hard. Bai's words inspired Hiori. Little Loli took a deep breath and looked at him solemnly. Okay, I want to surpass my father. I want to defeat Kaido and restore the country. Please teach me. After saying that, he bowed deeply to Bai and performed the teacher's ritual. Yamato was also cheering her on. Let's defeat Kaido together. Bai nodded with satisfaction, but silently mourned for Kaido in his heart. How could he have given birth to such a rebellious son because he was so pitiful and cute? The chi cultivation methods were handed over to the two of them. Yamato had a foundation in emission and could get the chi sense faster. Then Bai asked her to share her feeling of chi movement with Hiori, and he went back to the workshop to refine the weapon. The sea stone in the capsule was taken out. This is a unique material in the pirate world. Its characteristics are that it is extremely hard and can seal people with abilities. It would be a pity if such materials were not used to refine some magic weapons. Correct. Try blending it into the flying knives first to see if you can increase the strength of the flying knives. The attack power of flying knives is too weak now. His ideal swordsmanship is to return to the clan with 10,000 swords. A large number of blades without handles flew out, slicing the enemy alive. It would be even better if these blades could be combined into one knife. He suddenly felt a little familiar. 1,000 blades of the demonic sword. Or, Senbon Sakura. This idea deserves careful study. The fire was turned on, and the sound of ping pong 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 was heard. Hancock outside sighed. Bai is refining weapons again. At the bow of the ship, Yamato is sitting here meditating. She now likes the feeling of chi flowing in her body more and more. Haki is too domineering. Although its attack and defense are excellent, it can also cause some damage to the body. Although emission is softer, it still pursues destruction. But this chi is different, it is improving the essence of one's life. The injuries caused by fighting Kaido many times are also being slowly repaired. Suddenly, she opened her eyes and looked into the distance. The skull and crossbones flag was flying. It was an oncoming pirate ship. There is no simple role for the pirates who can hang out in the second half of the Grand Line. Captain, there is a beautiful woman on the boat in front. On the observation deck, the pirate responsible for the investigation reported this information to his captain. He only saw Yamato on the bow of the ship. If he was closer, he could also see Hancock sunbathing on the deck and Hiori practicing hard on the side. Even the most youthful Hiori, after being cleaned and fed with meat, has already revealed the characteristics of a beautiful woman. All pirates want is treasure and beautiful women. Now that the beauty is right in front of them, how can they endure it? Unbridled laughter came, and Yamato took off the mace from his back. I wonder how strong the pirates outside are. She turned around and shouted, Hancock. Hiori, a group of pirates are coming, I'm going to kill them. After saying that, he stepped on the bow and jumped onto the oncoming pirate ship. Conqueror's mace was wrapped around him, and he struck down the 8 trigrams with a thunderous move. The captain was able to withstand it. Thunder 8 trigrams, who are you? This pirate captain has some knowledge and actually recognizes Kaido's signature skill, Thunder 8 trigrams. A pair of axes withstood the impact of the mace, and his body took several steps back. After all, he is a pirate captain who can hang out in the new world. Now 15 years old, Yamato is still too immature. Yamato didn't want to mention her relationship with Kaido, so she raised her mace Takaru, pointed at the pirate captain and said, "The dead don't need to know." After that, he jumped up again. The captain laughed angrily. "Haha. You think you are Kaido, how dare you be so crazy? I, the butcher Hume, have never been afraid of anyone. Even if you are Kaido's daughter, I dare to ravage and kill you. Hume's body shape changed rapidly, yellow hair sprouted, and there were black Madara dots in the hair. His hands turned into sharp claws and his face looked like a big cat. But its buttocks only have a very short tail. The surrounding pirates exclaimed. Captain Hume actually used all the devil fruit abilities. How strong is this woman? Someone immediately said. No matter how strong you are, it's useless. Captain Hume is a person with the power of the cat fruit, lynx form. The strength, agility, speed, defense and recovery ability are all extremely strong. This woman is going to be torn apart by the captain. They dispersed one after another. Since the captain took action personally, they could not interfere at will. Hume rarely used his full strength in one move, but Kaido's Thunder 8 trigrams was so famous. Although he didn't know what the relationship between the girl in front of him and Kaido was, it was always right to be cautious. As he used the fruit ability and entered the human-animal form, the speed and strength of the axe in his hand were greatly improved. Yamato was forced to retreat continuously by him. Devil fruit. Think I don't have one. Yamato roared, and white hair grew from his body. In addition to fangs and claws, he also had a big fluffy tail on his hip. A white ring of freezing air wrapped around her body, and the moment she appeared, the temperature of the entire ship dropped a lot. It is Yamato's fruit ability. Inu dog fruit phantom beast species Oko true god form. What kind of fruit is this? Hume was shocked. He could see that the other party was also Zone's devil fruit, but it was so gorgeous. Suddenly, he thought of the legend. Is it a species of phantom beast even rarer than Logia? Yamato didn't answer. He was greeted by a mace. Hume in lynx form is very powerful, but how can he compare to the god of Oko? Every time the mace was swung, it would bring up a gust of cold wind, which made Hume shiver. Yamato discovered that with chi flowing through the meridians in his body, he could control the violent power from the phantom beast species more easily. As the battle became more intense, she discovered that Chi Jung was merging with the power of the phantom beast species. It felt like she once only had the power to use the power of the true god, but after all, this power did not belong to her. But now, she feels that as long as Chi is completely integrated with the power of the phantom beast species, this power will completely belong to her. What she has will no longer be the right to use, but ownership. Thinking of this, she didn't use air conditioning abilities like Wuxi Bingya, but relied on physical combat enhanced by the phantom beast species. This can accelerate the integration of chi and fruit power. Little did Hume know that he was being used as a whetstone by the girl across from him. On the surface, the two of them, one cat and one dog, were fighting equally well. Even Hume's crew had rarely seen such a close and exciting battle. At the bow of the Dawn, Hancock had been sitting here for some time. She silently watched the battle between Yamato and Hume. This Yamato is pretty strong. After realizing that she didn't need her own help, she leaned against the bow of the ship, holding her cheek in one hand, her lazy posture charming. Suddenly, she shouted, Yamato, don't destroy your head. That thing can be exchanged for a bounty. Know it. Yamato shouted back, used his mace to dislodge the two axes, and smashed Hume's chest. With his sternum shattered and his heart destroyed, Hume exited his lynx form and fell limply on the deck. Its crew members looked at Yamato with horror on their faces. Just as Yamato lifted Hume's head to leave, a slave arrow covered all the pirates behind her. When she looked back again, she found that all the pirates had turned into stone statues. Why did you kill them? Yamato was dissatisfied with Hancock's last-hitting behavior. But Hancock didn't care about her dissatisfaction. Since we are attacking us, we are the enemy. Do we still need to show mercy to the enemy? Besides, they are pirates. Who doesn't have blood on their hands? They deserve to die. Yamato was silent. She thought of her father Kaido, who ruined countless families in order to rule Wanokuni. Yes, these people are all pirates, no one can be killed. When Hancock saw Yamato's eyes gradually clearing up, he knew that she had figured it out. The girl brought back from the ghost island by Baiyi was not completely brainless. Go and bring back all their treasures. Hiori watched the battle quietly from the corner of the deck. Is this a pirate war? She thought of the night when her father was defeated and tortured in a cauldron, and her mother was burned in a fire. At that time, countless Kazuki family retainers died tragically at the hands of Kaido. Sister Hancock is right, these pirates deserve to die. A few days later, Bai came out of the studio to inspect the results of Yamato and Hiori's practice. Yes, you are all very talented. Seeing the two's current achievements, he praised them. Yamato has the foundation of hockey, and now Chi's practice is on the right track. And Hiori already has a sense of energy. He took out 2 small things from his arms and gave one to each of Yamato and Hiori. This is a reward for you. What is this? The 2 women looked at the items in their hands curiously. It was a small round ball with a small rope buckle at the top that could be hung around the waist. The capsule. You can put items inside. My ability to pick up and place items that you saw before came from this thing. The 2 of them were even more surprised. Is this kind of treasure really given to us? Bai smiled and said, of course. He told the 2 girls how to use the bite capsule. There is 10 cubic meters of space in it, which should be enough for you. Yamato immediately tried to put Takaru, the mace on his back, into his sack. He said happily, with this, it will be much easier for me to carry things in the future. The capsule is very small and lightweight. Bai specially installed a lanyard so it can be hung around the waist. No matter how many things are loaded inside, there will be no extra weight. In these days, he refined 2 biting bags for the 2 of them, and re-refined 9 flying knives, incorporating sea stone into them. Not only does it increase the hardness of the flying knife, it also acts as a restraint on those with abilities. Next, if you want to continue to enhance the strength of the flying knife, you need to use hockey to continuously cultivate it. If you turn it into a black knife, its hardness and sharpness will be improved again. But his hockey is limited, and his energy is also limited. Nowadays, he mainly uses it to cultivate the wudo guy in his body, and it is difficult to take care of all the flying knives. In addition to wudo guy, he can also cultivate 3 more flying knives at the same time. You don't seem to be in good spirits. He suddenly noticed that Hiori's expression was a little different, and asked with concern. Well, I'm fine. Hiori's face suddenly turned red. These days, every night, there are always some strange sounds coming from Bai and Hancock's room. The voice was extremely charming and touching. She is now in the grade where she is beginning to be ignorant about things between men and women. Although she doesn't know what is going on inside, she always feels blushing and heart beating every time she hears it, and her imagination runs wild. But Yamato, who was sleeping next to her, didn't feel anything at all. So in the end, in order to resist that voice, she buried her face in Yamato's majestic chest. Not only did Yamato not resist Hiori's behavior, but he was very happy. Good daughter, sleep on your father's chest. I will give you an incomparable sense of security. Hiori, although the relationship between the 2 is extremely close now, sometimes she still wants to strangle this woman who always wants to be her father. Fortunately, meditating and practicing chi can replenish energy, otherwise, Hiori would have 2 big dark circles under her eyes now. Quickly skipping the topic, she said to Bai expectantly, hey, can you help me make a wooden knife? Bai was surprised. Huh? Why do you want a wooden knife? Hiori said seriously. My father is a great swordsman, and I also want to practice sword skills. But I don't know how to use a sword, so I can't teach you. Bai fights with bare hands, and the only fighting skills he can teach are Tai Chi and merciful hands. He knows nothing about the use of weapons. Hiori said, my father taught me some basic sword skills, I can practice them myself. Fine. Bai thought for a while and threw a knife directly to her. Hiori looked confused, but when she took a closer look, it turned out to be her father's sword Tianyu Zan. Bai got this from Fake of Tengu Mountain. Before Odin died, he gave his 2 swords to his wife Tianyu, and asked her to take him to his 2 children. Tianyu Zan was later given to Momonosuke. And Yama is here in Hiori. Tisk, I really don't know what Tianyu was thinking, giving his daughter a sword like Yama that can devour its owner hockey. Does this mean his daughter's life is too long? In other words, she had no intention of letting Hiori use this sword at all. Bai asked Hiori about the whereabouts of Enma, but Hiori didn't tell him. Time was tight at that time. He didn't want to directly conflict with Kaido, so he gave up the idea of searching and left Wanokuni directly. I just use a wooden knife to practice my sword skills. At this time, Hiori looked at the Tianyu Zan in her hand, and she was a little afraid to accept it. Did this man really give his father's sword to him? Didn't he always speak ill of his father? Bai Yi said. How to practice sword skills with wooden swords. Will you also use wooden swords in battles in the future? Hiori quickly replied. I am a beginner, it is easier to master using a wooden sword, and it can avoid hurting myself. Bai Yi chuckled lightly. When you get hurt, you will remember it. Since you want to learn the sword, use a real knife. What's the use of a child's toy like a wooden knife? Faced with Bai Yi's statement, Heihei didn't know how to answer. She could only hold Tianyuyuzan tightly in her hand. This knife was still too heavy for her now. Did you really give me my father's knife? Bai Yi said. It's not given to you. If you want to use it, you will have to exchange it with Yama. Hiori's heart sank when he heard this. Sure enough, it was impossible for him to give such a famous sword to himself. But Bai Yi continued. It's not impossible if I want to give it to you. Hiori immediately perked up. Really? What do you need from me? I'm willing to do anything. Bai Yi, is this girl serious? His mouth almost dropped, and he quickly said seriously, if you defeat a Marine Vice Admiral alone, or a pirate of the same level of strength, I will give you this knife. Marine Vice Admiral, that's a big deal. Of course, Marine Vice Admiral is not all a pervert like Garp Akainu. There's also the Flying Squirrel and some other regular Vice Admirals. But it is still a goal that is currently beyond the reach of Hiori. But looking at Tianyuyuzan in her arms, her eyes became firmer. Okay. I will definitely do it. Then, he resolutely drew out the Tianyuyuzan, put the sheath into the sack, and started swinging the sword in the simplest way. The Tianyuyu slash was too heavy for her, and she was very weak as she had just gained chi sense. After only a few swings, she felt soreness in the muscles of her arms and was trembling non-stop. But she still refused to give up, gritted her teeth and continued to swing. The clothes were soaked with sweat, and her young and delicate face was already red. Yamato looked a little distressed. Let's rest for a while. But Hiori stubbornly refused. No. I want to become a strong man like my father as soon as possible. Avenge my father. The girl's strength is touching, but Bai Yi poured cold water on her at this moment. You'll get hurt if you do this. Things must be reversed at their extremes, and practice must be relaxed and relaxed. When the body is overwhelmed, put down the knife in your hand, enter into meditation, and let chi repair the body. Only in this way can you get twice the result with half the effort. Hiori then slowly put down the long knife in her hand, panted heavily, crossed her legs and entered a meditative state. The dawn passed the red line from the bottom of the sea, but Bai Yi did not return directly to Nine Snakes but headed southwest to Naval Headquarters Marineford. Come here, of course, to redeem the bounty. Bai Yi and Hancock walked in front, Yamato held a large wooden box with one hand and Hiori walked behind. Even Salome came along. This is the Naval Headquarters. Which pirate dares to come here to steal a ship? The moment they docked the ship here, Naval Headquarters immediately knew about it. Buddha Sengoku said in shock. They still dare to come here. He extremely suspected that op fruit was robbed by Bai Yi, and even Rocinante might have been poisoned by Bai Yi. Because, after they blocked Mignon Island, they could never find Rocinante, no one alive, no dead body. Angry, he immediately went to the place where Bai Yi and others were received. Hancock is 7 warlords of the sea, and when he comes to Naval Headquarters, these Marines have to be polite. As for Bai Yi, Yamato and Hiori, none of them have bounties on their heads, and Marine can't do anything to them. You killed all of these. Dalmisha was shocked when she opened the wooden box. The wooden box full of human heads looks shocking. Have these people really changed their ways? After becoming the 7 warlords of the sea, I killed pirates even harder than the Marines. Wait a moment, the identities and bounties of these heads still need to be confirmed. Dalmisha left with the wooden box, while 2 sailors brought tea to Bai Yi and others. Brother Yi, that Marine just now was so impressive. What's his rank? After being sent out by Bai Yi and receiving the Tianyuyu slash, Raihei's affection for Bai Yi grew day by day. After getting Bai Yi's consent, she has now begun to call him Brother Yi. Only Yamato still carelessly calls him Bai Yi. But this is also due to Yamato's character. For her, good friends should be called by their first names. Well, Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, or Demon Fruit Power. Is that Vice Admiral? Hiori kept looking at Dalmisha's back, that was the target she wanted to defeat. But when she heard Bai Yi talk about devil fruit, she asked curiously, what kind of fruit is he? Bai Yi glanced at Yamato and replied, same as Yamato, dog fruit. Huh, Yamato was surprised. But just regular zone, dog fruit, Madara dog form. Bai Yi talked about his understanding of Dalmatia. Just an ordinary zone like that butcher Hume. Hiori still remembers Yamato's battle with Hume. Right, while a few people were chatting, Buddha Sengoku walked in with his lieutenant, followed by Garp the Fist. Although Garp was not interested in the whereabouts of op fruit, he was quite interested in Bai Yi, so he followed him to take a look. Seeing Sengoku's angry face, Bai Yi gave him a bright smile. Hello, Sengoku Admiral. Sengoku stared into his eyes and said straight to the point, the op fruit was robbed by you. Bai Yi said innocently, what op fruit, I don't know. How could Sengoku believe his words? Then why did you go near Mignon Island? Bai Yi shook his head. I didn't go to Mignon Island, I went to Bangor waters, you should be able to check it. The pirate ship they had before was indeed heading towards Bangor waters, and the one that arrived near Mignon Island was the Iron Rod pirate ship. What does it have to do with me, Bai Yi? Sengoku took out a document from the document bag in his hand and placed it in front of Bai Yi. This is the Iron Rod pirate ship. Gil, the captain of the Iron Rod pirates, was killed by you on Berwick Island before. After that, this pirate ship appeared near Mignon Island. Do you dare to say that it was not you? Quote. Bai Yi shrugged. There are so many pirates on the sea, who knows who sailed it? We have our own ship, why are we sailing someone else's ship? Sengoku stared at him with narrowed eyes and asked Hancock again, you really didn't go to Mignon Island? Hancock's face was calm. No. Bai Yi pretended not to know anything and asked. What happened? Why do you suspect we went to Mignon Island? Sengoku threw a few documents to him. I was ordered to go to Mignon Island to capture a group of pirates. This group of pirates had op fruit in their hands, but when I arrived, the op fruit was gone. Only one of the pirates died. He shouldn't have said these things to others. But in order to test Bai Yi's reaction, he had to do this. So, you suspect that I killed those pirates and stole the op fruit? Bai Yi naturally reasoned like this. He looked through these documents one by one, including the surveillance report on Mignon Island, the photos of the ghost ship Iron Rod, the report on their killing of Gil, and the record of their purchase of the ship on St. Ronzo Island. Sengoku still stared into his eyes, trying to get clues. You didn't kill those pirates, there were others, but you might have taken the op fruit. Hey, Sengoku Admiral, your words are unreasonable. Bai Yi was very angry. Since you are sure that it was not me who killed those pirates, why do you suspect that I took the fruit? Besides, op fruit doesn't belong to Marine, so why do you convict people for it? Sengoku knew that he had no evidence and could not convince him no matter what, but he had to find out about this matter. Whether it's you or not, we'll find out if we try it. With that said, he grabbed Bai Yi directly with one hand. Bai Yi instinctively wanted to fight back, but immediately restrained this idea. This is Naval Headquarters. Buddha's Sengoku, Garp, Suru, Porosalino, Sakazuki, Kuzan, and Quang who has not yet abdicated. With all these strong men here, where could I resist? But the three girls Hancock, Yamato, and Hiori exploded in an instant. Perfume Femur kicked Sengoku, and the big-mouthed god appeared in human-animal form, and his sharp claws hit Sengoku's throat. Even little Hiori stepped forward to help. Garp stood in front of Sengoku and easily defeated these attacks. Sengoku pinched his neck with one hand, and when he didn't resist, his brows furrowed even more. Sengoku Admiral, is this the way you Marines treat ordinary people? You charge others for no reason, and you attack me when you kill pirates to exchange for bounties. Bai Yi shouted sharply, and Sengoku also didn't know what to do. But he was the resourceful general after all, and he quickly thought of a way. Garp, get me 2 sea-stone handcuffs. At the same time, he looked at Yamato, it's a phantom beast. Garp brought 2 sea-stone handcuffs, and Sengoku said, put these on this kid. Bai Yi shouted angrily, what's my crime? Why do you want to arrest me? Sengoku didn't answer and put 2 sea-stone handcuffs on Bai Yi's wrists. You have a fight with Dalmatia. As long as you don't lose, I will let you go. He wanted to check whether Bai Yi had eaten the op fruit, which is why 2 sea-stone handcuffs were used. Bai Yi also understood this and did not struggle. He actively cooperated with him in putting on handcuffs and said angrily, "If you want to impose a crime, why bother?" He looked angry on the surface, but he was calm in his heart. The current development is similar to what he expected, and Sengoku will definitely find a way to test himself. Rather than letting him go to Kuja to cause trouble, he should come directly to Marineford. As long as his doubts are resolved, he can develop with peace of mind for a period of time. Instructing Hancock and the others not to panic, he came to the training ground outside with Dalmisha wearing seastone handcuffs. Shaking his neck, he said to Dalmisha casually, "Come on, my Vice Admiral." Dalmisha got a hint from Sengoku and used her full strength as soon as she took action. Madara clicked on the dog's human-animal form and appeared directly. She stepped on the ground and used shave. The figure came to Bai Yi in an instant, covered armament hockey with clawed fingers, and stabbed Bai Yi in the chest with a finger pistol. If Bai Yi didn't resist, this move would at least result in serious injury or even death. Sengoku just wants to force him to use all his strength. Guy spreads out, and he wraps another layer of armament hockey on the armor on his chest for double protection to resist finger pistol. Boom. Even so, he was still knocked back several steps. The energy and blood in his body surged for a while, and he immediately fought back. Pushing forward with one palm, a big hand seal blasted towards Dalmisha. Dalmisha used Shao repeatedly, dodged the big hand seal and continued to attack Bai Yi. Bai Yi fired continuously with both palms, and then fired 6 more shots with his compassionate hand. But Dalmisha was very fast. After dodging the large handprints, these large handprints continued to blast towards the rear. Feeling the tyrannical power, Sengoku's expression changed slightly, and his fists were covered with armed color, blocking all these large hand seals. Otherwise, the marines and marine buildings behind him will suffer. This kid is so strong. Sengoku looked solemn. He could fight Dalmisha to this point. With this man's age, he will definitely be another Whitebeard in the future. Even reaching Roger's strength is not impossible. But that also means he didn't eat the op-op fruit. Garp still admires Bai Yi very much. This young man has strength and courage. If he really robbed op-op fruit, it means that his resourcefulness is not low. Sengoku now doubts his own inference. Did I make a wrong guess? What he wants to find out now is not only the whereabouts of op-op fruit, but also whether Rocinante is alive or dead. Garp laughed loudly. Are the resourceful generals sometimes can't see through it? Sengoku didn't want to mess around with him now and continued to think about various possibilities. No, just because he didn't eat doesn't mean he doesn't have a calamity. Garp advised. Forget it, you can't arrest someone without evidence. Then, he continued to look at the battlefield. I'm curious, what is that layer of armor covering his body? It seems to be related to the beads on his wrists and ankles. He looked at Hancock again. The Emperor of Nine Snakes also has something like this on his body. It's just a few beads. Can it be turned into armor? It doesn't look any weaker than the armed color. In the center of the battlefield, Bai Yi used Ghost Shadow Walk, and his speed was no slower than Dalmisha who used Shao. He used Tai Chi to deal with it, and from time to time he fired a mercy hand, but he was evenly matched with Dalmisha. Okay, stop. Upon hearing Sengoku's order, Dalmisha immediately retreated and released her human-animal form. Bai Yi also dismissed wudo guy and stood in the field. It is true that you did not eat op-op fruit, but now, we are going to search your ship. As long as there is nothing inside, your suspicion will be completely cleared. This unquestionable tone was an order that did not allow them to refute. Sengoku took off the seastone handcuffs from Bai Yi and invited them back to the reception room of Naval Headquarters again. Sengoku Admiral, you Marines are so overbearing when you wrongfully accuse a good person like this. Sengoku didn't pay attention to his angry tone. Even though he did it perfectly, Sengoku still felt that he was the one who robbed the op-op fruit. He said calmly, if Marine really wronged you, we will make it up to you. Compensate. Bai Yi sat down and slowly tapped the table with his fingers. Since you suspect that I stole the devil fruit, then give me a devil fruit as compensation. Sengoku flatly refused. No way. It was no surprise that he was rejected. Bai Yi continued. Selling you some information, plus compensation for wrongly accusing me this time, in exchange for a devil fruit, is not too much. He was neither surprised nor nervous that Sengoku sent people to search his ship, because all important things are carried in the phagocytosis sac. Besides, he actually ate the op fruit, and no matter how hard they searched, they couldn't find it. Intelligence. Sengoku wondered what kind of information he could have, and it was worth a devil fruit. A piece of information about an undercover agent. Bai Yi said calmly. Undercover. Now, not only did Sengoku take it seriously, but even Garp looked serious. If Bai Yi really knows that there is an undercover agent lurking in Marine, then, plus this compensation, it may really be worth a devil fruit. Of course, the most common devil fruit. Who is undercover? Seeing Sengoku's serious look, Bai Yi smiled. Can I change it to devil fruit? Sengoku said. If your information is found to be true, I can give you one. Bai Yi then said. Marineg 5 branch, Virgo, he is from North Blue, a member of the Don Quixote family, and the first-generation Red Heart Corazon. In fact, his purpose was not the devil fruit. The fruit given by Marine was definitely the most common and of little use. But using this as an excuse to expose Virgo's identity, he might be able to get a reward from the system. Hearing the Red Heart Corazon, Sengoku's pupils instantly dilated. Because, Rocinante is Corazon. Bai Yi is talking about first generation, that is to say, it was Rocinante's former heart. After entering Marine undercover, the heart position was vacant. When Rocinante returned, Ming Jie gave him the heart position. Really, he suddenly felt that if this matter was true, it would be possible to find Rocinante's whereabouts. It must be true. Bai Yi was still knocking on the table slowly, but as for the evidence, you need to check it yourself. Good, Sengoku said. When I investigate and find out, if it is true, I will send someone to give you a devil fruit. At this moment, the sailors who went to search the Don also returned. Report, no devil fruit found on daybreak. Really not. Sengoku was a little disappointed, but he learned another piece of information from Bai Yi, and he couldn't wait to investigate. Sorry, Sir Bai Yi, I misunderstood you. Once I confirm the information you said, I will immediately send someone to deliver a devil fruit. Chapter 51. Leave Marineford with the bounty. His plan has been completed. He was temporarily cleared of the suspicion of robbing the op fruit, and revealed Virgo's undercover situation. Returned to the daybreak with a large suitcase of money, a total of 520 million belly. These pirates are really valuable. Tisk tisk. Cross the calm belt again and return to Nine Snakes Island. A ship that had never been seen before appeared on the shore of Nine Snakes, which immediately aroused the vigilance of the Nine Snakes warriors. Sandersonia and Marigold came with people in person. This is the Amazon Lily Kingdom. All outsiders are not welcome. Please leave immediately, otherwise you will be attacked by us. The female warriors of Nine Snakes raised their spears, drew their long bows, and stood ready. The ship's ability to traverse the calm belt is a testament to its prowess. However, when they saw Bai Yi and Hancock coming off the boat, all their nervousness turned into surprise. Lord Snake Princess, Master Shiji and Master Bai Yi are back. Some people shouted back to announce the good news, while those who stayed behind made way for them with hearts in their eyes. Is this the country of Sister Hancock? Hiori was a little nervous. Although she was once a princess, the people of Wanokuni did not have the same level of admiration for her father. Yamato didn't feel nervous at all, but felt very happy. The two followed Salome closely, but all the female warriors' attention was on Bai Yi and Hancock, and no one noticed them at all. After getting off the boat, Hancock and Bai Yi's eyes were directly attracted to the two adopted sisters. Because their body shapes vary greatly. Originally, the two of them were 4.5 meters tall, with the second sister having a big face and the third sister having a round waist. But now, both of them are only about 3.5 meters tall, and their face shape and body shape are closer to that of a normal human being than before. Second sister, third sister, why are you? Although the image of the two people has changed drastically, Hancock is still sure that these are them. At this moment, her memory seemed to go back to her childhood, when both sisters' bodies were normal. Although their appearance is not as good as hers, they are both pretty and cute. However, ever since they were captured by the celestial dragons and made into slaves, and forced to eat the snake fruit, the bodies of the two sworn sisters have become more and more unlike ordinary people. Bai Yi saw this scene and had a clear understanding in his heart. The violent power contained in devil fruit, especially zone, makes the body of the eater unable to bear it and upgrades. However, after they practiced chi, this kind of neutral and peaceful energy combed every part of the body over and over again, not only clearing away old diseases, but also slowly integrating the violent power in the animal fruit. This is also the case because the two of them have average physiques. If, like Lu Chi, his body has been trained to an extremely strong level, after eating the zone devil fruit, his body will be able to withstand the violent power, and his body will not be deformed as a result. Seeing the changes in his two foster sisters, Hancock had no intention of communicating too much with her. After returning to the palace, he called the two to inquire about the situation. Outside, Yamato, who has a cheerful nature, has become one with the warriors of the daughter country. Hiori was also infected by these enthusiastic citizens, and the tension in her heart gradually disappeared. Sister Hancock's country is so wonderful. Night. After a fierce exercise, Hancock lay in Bai Yi's arms with a red face. The red lips opened slightly, and the breath was like a orchid. Bai Yi, can you also teach the immortal thief of Luku to my two sisters? It was the first time that she asked Bai Yi for help like this, but she also knew that this was Bai Yi's secret, and she was a little worried that such a request would make him angry. However, the two sisters are the people he is closest to except Bai Yi. After understanding why they changed, she wanted to make them better. Just relying on chi training may not completely eliminate the side effects of devil fruit. But the immortal thief Luku, who can perfectly digest all energy, is different. Not only can the two sisters return to normal humans, but they can also no longer be afraid of the ocean. The most important thing is that she now knows the ability of the immortal thief Luku to make people immortal. She didn't want to see her two sisters grow old and die in front of her. But, will Bai Yi agree? Ask yourself, if this ability was hers, then she would not pass it on to anyone else, but Bai Yi gave it to herself so easily. The body lying in Bai Yi's arms was getting hot, and she was afraid that Bai Yi would be angry. Suddenly, she thought of something again and said to Bai Yi, "My two sisters were very cute when they were young. If they can return to their normal state, they will definitely be beautiful women. How about we serve you together?" Bai Yi, who was thinking, swallowed when he heard this. The immortal thief of Luku cannot be passed down from person to person at will, but Sonia and Mary are absolutely loyal to Hancock. And Hancock is absolutely infatuated with him, so these two are his own people and confidants. It is not impossible to teach them the Luku immortal thief to enhance their strength. Moreover, they were indeed very cute when they were children. If they turn into beautiful women again, then. However, I remember that Sonia's face was very big when she was a child, and I hope her face can return to normal size. The next day, Hancock called his two sisters to the bedroom, and Bai Yi taught them the Luku immortal thief. After doing all this, Bai Yi went out to find Yamato and Hiori and asked them if they were used to this place. In the palace, Hancock told his two sisters about his experience in using Luku immortal thief and its related effects. "Sister, with this, will we be able to live forever in the future?" The two of them found it incredible. Immortality has been a legend since ancient times. Yes, and I have already told Bai Yi that when you fully recover, you will also marry Bai Yi. Ah, their faces turned red instantly. "Sister, we..." Before he finished speaking, Hancock interrupted. "You all like Bai Yi, I can see it, and in this way, our three sisters can live together forever." Sister. Not only were their cheeks slightly red now, but their eyes were also slightly red, tears were gathering, and the three of them hugged each other. In the martial arts training ground on the island, Yamato and Hiori are doing morning exercises with the female warriors. The content of morning exercise is Shingchi. After obtaining Bai Yeki's practice method, the strength of everyone on Nine Snake Island has been significantly improved, so they are also very active in practicing chi. "Are you still used to it?" After morning exercise, Bai Yi asked the two girls. "Bai Yi, it's great here. It's like heaven. The paradise Yamato talks about is naturally not worthy of all the women here, but the Akagi and passionate atmosphere here. It's completely different from the ghost island she grew up on. Not even Wanokuni had she ever felt this vibe from. Including Hiori, they also feel the same way. Bai Yi, why is this country so different? Are all countries overseas like this?" Yamato asked this question. Bai Yi smiled and said, of course not. Other countries are just like you, Wanokuni, full of intrigues. I will take you to other countries in the future, and you will naturally understand. But why can they be so harmonious? Bai Yi thought for a while and replied, perhaps it is because successive rulers treat all citizens as family members. Just like my father. Hiori took it for granted. Tch. Bai Yi's disdainful tone made the little loli dissatisfied again. She approached Bai Yi with her teeth bared and said, that's it. My father also treats the people as family. Too lazy to talk nonsense with her, Bai Yi casually grabbed a passerby girl. The passerby asked a question with her blushing face. If 9 Snakes is invaded by the enemy, what will Snake Princess do? Although the girl was shy, she still answered without thinking, Sir Snakeji will definitely kill the intruder. Hiori quickly interrupted when she heard this, my father too. He asked again, what if the enemy captures a few citizens and threatens Lady Snakeji? The girl said, Sir Shiji will definitely rescue them. Hiori wanted to speak again, but Bai Yi covered her mouth, and could only whine helplessly. He continued to ask, what if the enemy uses these citizens to blackmail Snake Lady into stripping naked and dancing? The blushing female warrior stopped blushing after hearing this, and shouted angrily, Sir Shiji will definitely kill them. But if this happens, those citizens will also die. Xiao Raihei finally pulled Bai Yi's palm away and asked loudly. The girl responded decisively, then just die. Even if it's me who gets caught, I'm willing to die in exchange for Lady Snake to kill those intruders. Sacrifice a few people and kill them, and the entire country will be safe. But if you continue to be coerced, it will only make more people suffer. As long as you are coerced once, you will be threatened twice, 3 times and countless times. When will you be the end? Are you waiting for the enemy to wake up? Only when Lady Snake shows that she is not threatened can we be the greatest protector. Bai Yi was very satisfied with the girl's answer and took out a string of pearls from the sack. That's a good answer. This is for you. The girl was overjoyed. Thank you, Mr. Bai Yi. There was a slight vibrato in his speech. In her mind, this string of pearls is more than just treasure. The most important thing is that it was given to her by Bai Yi. She will treasure it for a lifetime. After the girl left, Bai Yi looked back and found that Yamato and Hiori were in isolation. Hello. He reached out and patted Yamato's shoulder and Hiori's little head. Have you thought clearly? The 2 women looked up, their eyes full of confusion. This time was different from what Bai Yi and Hancock said last time. This female warrior said without hesitation that she could not be threatened even if she sacrificed some people. Let their long-held belief collapse. Did the father Odin really do something wrong? Life is long, the road is still long, and the sea is big. Bai Yi stood with his hands behind his hands and looked at the morning sun. Whether Odin did the right thing, you can think about it slowly. But now, I'm going to teach you some new abilities. Bai Yi raised his palm and made a big hand seal, which was a hand of great compassion. He said to Yamato, your fighting skills are inherited from Kaido. They are all open and closed. This set of palm techniques is very suitable for you. Do you want to learn it? Yamato nodded immediately. Can you really teach me? Certainly. Bai Yi taught Yamato the essentials of the great merciful hands and let her practice and comprehend them on her own. Then he said to Hiori, don't you want to learn? Hiori said hesitantly, this ability is very powerful, but I don't like it very much. Bai Yi nodded. Heihei's choice was no surprise, and he demonstrated Tai Chi again. And asked Hiori, do you like this? Hiori said she couldn't understand. Can you fight with this slow boxing technique? Bai Yi smiled and asked Yamato to spar with him. When Hiori saw Bai Yi knocking down the powerful Yamato to the ground with extremely lightness, his eyes immediately straightened. I want to learn this. Although she plans to focus on sword skills as her main training object, she cannot completely lack the ability to fight with bare hands. This seemingly gentle boxing technique suits me very well. Bai Yi explained the principles of boxing to her, and Yamato was also listening. Although she prefers powerful moves, listening to other moves can also enhance her vision and improve her strength. He told Hancock about both abilities. But Hancock preferred the leg method and just listened to it once without any interest in learning. But after Bai Yi got the ghost shadow walk, she liked this ability to increase speed very much, and Bai Yi also taught it to her. After telling the story to the 2 of them, he went to the elder in charge of the construction here and asked him to prepare a room for him to refine weapons. Fire, various tools and materials are all available. By killing pirates along the way, not only will there be 520 million belly exchanged for bounty, but there will also be various treasures worth 230 million belly. And let people use these baileys to help them buy various high-end materials. Entering the weapon refining room, the first thing he had to make was the bite bag. This kind of space prop is extremely practical, so make more of it. In addition, flying insects and binoculars can monitor everywhere and prevent people from sneaking onto the island. Both the white illustration and the black illustration are humanoid battle puppets that can help protect the island. These two kinds of puppets come from the same origin. The black puppet is an advanced version of the white puppet, but he needs to make the white puppet first to gain experience before he can ensure that the black puppet can be successfully refined. Bai Yi indulged in refining weapons again, while the female warriors of Nine Snakes continued to practice chi every day. Hiori's practice has also yielded results. Now he can freely wield Tianyu Zan for a long time without getting tired, and he also has a preliminary understanding of Tai Chi. After Yamato mastered the Great Mercy Hand, he was very excited and wanted to find someone to practice his hand with, so he followed the Nine Snakes pirates out to rob. Of course, the main targets of their plunder are other pirate groups. With her strength, she is almost invincible in the first half of the Grand Line. Soon, legends about Yamato also began to spread in the park. Open black lens bracket Sirius close black lens bracket Yamato. This is what the pirates call her. The little Lolita Kazuki Hiori also followed him on several ships, and fought with ordinary female warriors of Nine Snakes against ordinary pirates, and his strength was growing rapidly. On the return trip, Yamato will hunt some small sea kings in the calm belt. Because she knew that Bai Yi liked to eat sea king's meat, and that was all she could do for him. Unknowingly, Bai Yi has been in the pirate world for more than half a year. During this period of time, the marks of the Tianxiang dragon's hoof on the backs of the three Gorgon sisters who had taken a rest from the immortal thieves of Luku had disappeared, and their original fair skin had returned. Moreover, the violent power from the devil fruit in the bodies of the two adopted sisters, Sonia and Mary, was completely fused with Qi, and their bodies returned to their normal appearance. However, the height is still higher than normal people. Sonia is now 2.02 meters tall and Mary is 1.98 meters tall. But Bai Yi and Hancock are now 1.91 meters tall, which is not much different from them. Sonia's big face has also become smaller and more exquisite. Although not as gorgeous as Hancock, she is still a rare beauty. See Circle Calendar in December 1509, under Hancock's initiative, Bai Yi entered the marriage hall again. The bride is Sonia and Mary. When the news spread, all the pirates in the park were surprised. Bai Yi, what kind of person is he? After marrying the most beautiful woman in the world, Empress Nine Snakes, he can marry her two younger sisters. On the wedding night, Bai Yi joined hands with the two beauties and entered the new house together. At the banquet, a maid with a dull face was cleaning up the venue. They are made like flowers by Bai Yi. It has no offensive power and can be manipulated with Qi. It has replaced many of the original manpower tasks, allowing more female warriors to practice their combat abilities with peace of mind. Late at night, after an intense exercise, Bai Yi vaguely heard the system prompt in his sleep. Because your whistleblower led to Virgo's arrest, the world line will change slightly in the future, and you will be rewarded with Baji Fist. Virgo was arrested. Early the next morning, Bai Yi recalled the system prompt he received last night. The three key characters in the plot of Ice and Fire Island, Luo, Virgo, and Geisa, two of them have changed their fates because of themselves. As for the rewarded Bajikwan, it is just a basic physical skill. Although it is not as good as those magical skills, it can also enrich Bai Yi's close combat methods. I don't know if the devil fruit promised by Sengoku will be delivered. In these days, his weapon refining methods have become more and more sophisticated. Not only are the loyal female warriors equipped with bite bags, but he has also successfully developed white dolls. There is also a simple version of the slimming stove. This self-cultivation furnace cannot create a person with abilities, but it can copy his own abilities for the white doll. On the white puppet, he has added 3 abilities: Ghost Walking, Phantom Body Barrier, and Earth Walking Immortal. It's so mysterious. But the combat ability is still slightly weak, so he now begins to refine the black puppet on the basis of the white puppet. But take your time. He now has a deep knowledge of weapon refining, so there shouldn't be any big surprises when refining the black puppet. However, if you want to refine better divine machine creations, you not only need superb weapon refining skills, but also the materials are very important. The materials he uses now are still too ordinary. Therefore, he asked the female warriors of 9 Snakes to constantly inquire about Baoshu Atom and look for better metals. While he was thinking, a marine warship was quietly sailing on the calm belt. The target is 9 Snakes Island. Marine's arrival made them extremely nervous. Yamato came to the port first, followed closely by Sonia with her troops. After Bai Yi heard about this, he quickly rushed to the port with Hancock. Although the report said that only one warship came, in this world the strong were respected, and one top strong man was more important than an army of 100,000. If an admiral-level powerhouse arrives, the entire island will be destroyed. Haha, this is the legendary Daughter's Kingdom. Before he reached the port, he heard a hearty laugh. When I took a closer look, I suddenly became nervous. The visitor was just a vice admiral, but his extremely strong figure and resolute face were impressive. Garp the Fist. It turned out to be Garp himself. Fortunately, Garp just stayed on the ship and had no intention of entering 9 Snake Island. Vice Admiral Garp. He quickly greeted him with a smile. Seeing his arrival, Garp's adjutant Bogart jumped off the boat, holding a wooden box in his hand. Your intelligence is good. That Virgo is indeed a spy of the Don Quixote family. This is the devil fruit that Sengoku promised you. Garp explained his purpose straight to the point, and Bogart threw the wooden box in his hand over. Originally, he was not needed for this courier delivery task, but after all, it was about devil fruit, so he couldn't be careless. And Garp happened to be going back to East Blue, so he stopped by for Sengoku. Vice Admiral Garp, come to 9 Snakes City for a visit. Bai Yi took the wooden box and opened it in front of Garp. It was indeed a devil fruit inside. It was shaped like a sugar apple, but the top was flat with special brown lines. Close the box and make a warm invitation to Garp. Garp refused. I heard that men are not allowed to enter Amazon Lily, so I won't break this rule. After speaking, he motioned for Bogart to return to the boat and sail away. After watching Garp go away, he led the people back to 9 Snakes City. Hancock, who do you think is better for eating this devil fruit? He looked at the fruits in the wooden box and didn't know how to choose. Hancock didn't care about this. I listen to you. The fruit sent by Marine is most likely an ordinary zone. This kind of fruit is not too strong. If it were given to his subordinates, he felt that it was not enough, but if it was given to ordinary soldiers, who to give it to would be a big problem. After much thought, he decided to keep it first. You can sell them for money in the future, or reward them based on their performance. Seeing that the year 1510 was coming soon, it was time for him to make plans for the next year. Looking back on the plot, a lot has happened this year. Fozifu escorted rubber fruit but was kidnapped by the Red Hair pirates and was imprisoned in the underwater prison. After Red Hair got the rubber fruit, he came to East Blue Windmill Village and got acquainted with Luffy. Luffy eats the rubber fruit. Shanks broke his arm and left East Blue, and then Luffy was sent to the bandit Dayton to befriend Ace Sabo. Soon after, Sabo went to sea and was bombarded by celestial dragons and lost his memory, but was rescued by the dragon. Koala returned to his hometown of Forchard Island on the Sun Pirates ship, where Fisher Tiger was ambushed by Marine and died of serious injuries. Jinbei took over as the captain of the Sun Pirates, and Arlong was arrested. Gilder Tezzolo snatches and eats the Ginkan fruit at an auction held by the Don Quixote family. In the same year, Kuina died. These should be the practices that have a greater impact on the world line. Bai Yi thought about what things he could intervene and change. Fighting the redhead for the rubber fruit. A red-haired person who could have his arm bitten off by a mere offshore lord should not be strong enough. But he always felt that things were strange. With the red-haired qualifications, he may have the strength of Luffy when he was a trainee crew member on the Roger ship. And now, the minimum guarantee should be Shichibukai-level combat power. Otherwise, how could he have the strength to compete with Hawkeye in sword skills? But you can go and take a look, if you have a chance. However, he didn't know where the rubber fruit was robbed, so he couldn't intervene in the battle. Then we can only set our target at East Blue Windmill Village. If Luffy could be killed directly, is there any bigger change than this? But Garp, this guy regards East Blue as his own territory, and hangs around East Blue whenever he wants. Once I attack Luffy, I'm afraid I will face the encirclement and suppression of several admiral-level combatants. It's probably going to be difficult to get started with rubber fruit. What about the golden fruit? Even Tezzolo can get the golden fruit, but Brother Ming is really a waste. Always ask for news about the Don Quixote family's auction, he is very sure to plunder it. But Brother Ming really likes to use devil fruit as a gimmick. In the past, there was an auction for Jinjin fruit, and later there was an arena for Mara Mara fruit. As a result, both fruits were taken away. Finally came the deaths of Fisher Tiger and Kuina. He has always been confused about Kuina's death. People in this world have very perverted physiques. Luffy was able to kill wild beasts with his bare hands at a young age. As a swordsman far superior to Zoro, how could Kuina fall to her death while going down the stairs? Unless she must die. In other words, the world wants her to die. If so, there would be no way to save her. But Fisher Tiger was different. He has a good relationship with the Fishmen Island, and Princess Shirahoshi will chat with him using the phone bug from time to time. Moreover, Fisher Tiger's death was the trigger for a series of events on the Fishmen Island. Avoiding his death will definitely change the world line and get system rewards. The person who participated in the battle at that time was Naval Headquarters Rear Admiral Stallo Berry. This person should be someone he can deal with. However, Marine set up a trap to arrest Tiger because of the slave-freeing incident. If he wanted to intervene, he must make a plan in advance, otherwise he would also be finished. Since Kuji Island is located in the Calm Belt, it is also difficult to receive newspapers here. After discussing with Hancock, he sent several nine-snake female warriors to Sabayati to open a tea house to collect intelligence information. If there is useful information, use the phone bug to report it directly to him. If it is not too important, newspapers are delivered to Nine Snakes regularly. North Blue. There is a huge ship sailing on the sea. There was a pirate flag hanging on the ship, and a man with blonde hair, sunglasses, and a pink feather coat was blowing the sea breeze on the deck. Virgo was suddenly arrested. I don't know how the news leaked out. Flamingo remained expressionless even when he was angry. He couldn't understand that Virgo's undercover agent had no flaws and had never been suspected, but for some reason, he was suddenly arrested a few days ago. There was also the personal action of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Sakazuki. The crime is that the Don Quixote family is undercover. Young master, Virgo has been following you since he was a child and joined Marine for you. Even among us, not many people know about his undercover identity. Therefore, I suspect that one of us has Marine spies. Torapal hunched over and expressed his opinion. Brother Ming was silent. He already knew that his brother Rocinante was an undercover agent. However, even Rocinante doesn't know about Virgo's existence. He originally wanted his brother to eat the op-op fruit to make himself immortal. But Rocinante has now disappeared, and her life and death are unknown. Besides him, are there other undercover Marines around him? From the corner of his eye, he glanced around at the cadres without leaving any trace. Who is it? Dover, will the auction we originally planned continue? Diamante also felt that the atmosphere was a bit depressing, but he was the person in charge of this auction. In order to make the auction a success, Mingay even took out a devil fruit as bait. But now that Virgo has been arrested, they are likely to face a marine attack next. But he's not worried about that because he's a celestial dragons and Marine can't attack him. Continue, and be louder. I'll find a way to rescue Virgo. Under the control of the Don Quixote family, news of the auction was soon published in the newspapers. The most eye-catching position in the center is the picture of devil fruit. Will it be held next month? Bai Yi took the newspaper and checked it. The newspaper did not explain what type of fruit it was, but he already knew it. However, his eyes were attracted by the second line. 100 kilograms of meteorite from the sky. This is the best iron ore in the world, the best material pursued by countless knife makers. It is very possible to use meteorite iron to create the legendary supreme sharp knife. The swordsmith naturally doesn't have much money to fight for, but a famous sword can improve a lot of combat power, and many big forces will definitely come to compete for the 100 kilograms of meteorite iron. This is exactly what I need. Whether he is refining the black puppet or forging the 1,000 blades of the demonic knife, he needs this level of iron ore. Now it seems that it is no longer important whether the Jinjin fruit can be obtained, but the 100 kilograms of meteorite iron must be obtained. To be sure, he still needed to make some more preparations. He summoned the white puppet, compared himself with the white puppet, and then gave up. The height is not high enough. It seems that just returning you to the furnace is not enough. I need to make another one. Picking up the tools, he had the experience of making a white puppet last time, and this time he did it very quickly. In particular, its surface has been treated more carefully. The original white doll only had a round head, but this time, he was carefully carved according to his own appearance, including his height and body shape, which was completely copied from his current figure. Although it looked dull up close, it looked dull from a distance. Almost the same as myself. The eyeball uses the refining concept of flying insects, which allows you to communicate with its vision, and allows you to speak through the white puppet, which is enough to make it look real. The ability to copy is still the earthly immortal, ghostly shadow and phantom body barrier. Naval Headquarters. Buddha Sengoku reported to Marshal Quang the aftermath of the op fruit incident. On the day of the transaction, the Don Quixote family was ambushing near Mignon Island. Before Rocinante disappeared, he reported that his undercover identity had been discovered. According to Barrero's confession, it was Rocinante who robbed the op fruit. The child we rescued, Trafalgar Law, also admitted that Rocinante robbed the op fruit to treat his terminal illness, but Rocinante has disappeared, and Law has not didn't eat the op fruit. Based on the information provided by Baiyi, we found out that Colonel Virgo of the G5 branch was Doflamingo's subordinate. Therefore, I speculate that op fruit was kidnapped by Doflamingo and that Rocinante was also killed by him, but no body has been found so far. In addition, a ship of the Iron Bar pirates appeared near Mignon Island that day. The captain of the pirate group, Gil, was killed by Baiyi. Therefore, it cannot be ruled out that Baiyi used a special method to sneak into Mignon Island to kill Rocinante and steal it. Op fruit possible. However, I have used Seastone to test and confirm that Baiyi does not have devil fruit ability. His ship has also been searched in all aspects and op fruit was not found, but the suspicion cannot be completely ruled out. Marshal, are we going to capture Doflamingo and Baiyi? Quang looked at the thick documents in front of him and felt a headache. Doflamingo is a celestial dragon, we have no right to arrest him. Baiyi married the Nine Snakes Empress, and the Empress has just joined the 7 warlords of the sea. Without evidence, we cannot arrest him either. Besides, op fruit had not completed the transaction at that time and did not belong to us, Marine. We had no reason to arrest the suspect. Okay, I will explain this matter to the world government, and this matter is over. Quang accepted these reports and said to Sengoku, Doflamingo holds an auction in North Blue and uses devil fruit as the finale. Although this is most likely a gimmick, it is devil fruit after all. Send a few people to take a look. Also, if you can get the meteorite iron, try to get it. It is a good material for forging weapons. Sengoku took the order and left. 9 Snake Island. Baiyi summoned Yamato and others. Come to the sea with me. Where to? Yamato was very excited to hear about going to sea. It had been more than 3 months since she came to 9 Snakes. Although she often followed the perfume cola to plunder nearby, she still felt a little tired of staying in one place. Now that I have escaped from the Ghost Island, I naturally want to go see the whole world. North Blue. When Baiyi said this name, the little Lolita Hiori jumped up and shouted, I'll go too, I'll go too. With the chi training method and a lot of meat, the little Loli is now growing well and has grown a lot taller. Still leaving Sonia and Mari on the island, he took Hancock, Yamato and Hiori to sail on the Daybreak. Oh, yes, there is also Salome, the water snake who is always around Hancock. After returning from North Blue this time, he planned to send people to Segu Island to find the Renren fruit. This snake guarded Hancock every day. After observing Hancock's chi training for many days, it actually learned to swallow the sun and the moon. Essence. Baiyi was really shocked at that time. If this thing were placed in a foreign world, Sooner or later it would become an elf more powerful than Lu Kunsheng. The black puppet came to the port through the earthly immortal, and activated the phantom body barrier and ghost walking to board the ship quietly. Even the female warriors of 9 Snakes did not know the existence of the black puppet. Yamato stood on the bow of the ship. With the reputation she had built up these days, wherever the dawn went, not a single pirate dared to come forward and seek death. The ship turned on the coating, passed by the Dragon Palace under the sea skillfully, crossed the calm belt again and came to North Blue. On the way, they even encountered a warship. "Yo, Kuzan Vice Admiral, why are you here in North Blue?" Bai Yi stood on the deck of the Dawn and greeted Kuzan with a smile. Kuzan, who is this guy? Taking off the blindfold, he saw Hancock next to Bai Yi and just then remembered that this was the Bai Yi who gave Sengoku Admiral a headache. At this time, Bai Yi was wearing a light singlet, with a string of red beads on his wrists and ankles. His long hair was already draped over his shoulders and tied into a ponytail, making him look quite fairy-like. Under his influence, Hancock also went out barefoot, instead of wearing high heels. The red beads on her ankles made her little feet as beautiful as white jade. Is Kuzan Vice Admiral going to the Don Quixote family's auction? Going to North Blue at this time, still led by Kuzan, Bai Yi guessed that there was no other choice but the Don Quixote auction. Kuzan thought for a moment and said, "Are you too?" Hancock has joined the 7 warlords of the sea, he is one of his own, and they are traveling without flying the pirate flag, and Kuzan has no reason to attack. Besides, why attack? Now Kuja is killing pirates even harder than their marines. I heard that there have been a lot fewer pirates in Paradise and South Blue recently, which also makes their marine work more leisurely. Together, Bai Yi sailed with Kuzan's warship very familiarly. On the way, no one dared to stop him. North Blue, Lampasa Island. There is an auction house run by the Don Quixote family. Today, this island is extremely lively, with countless businessmen, rich people, nobles from various countries, and powerful pirates all coming here. The goal is that devil fruit. The Dawn and Marine warships docked at the port together, and other ships consciously gave way to some distance. In the back room of the auction, Flamingo was sitting here drinking tea. Looking at the guest list in his hand, he calculated how much money he could make from it. Kuzan. Brother Ming saw this name and gently touched his chin with his hand. How did this monster come from? Kuzan has a great reputation. Although he is only a vice admiral, both marines and pirates believe that he already has the strength of an admiral and will soon be promoted to admiral. Next to Kuzan on the list is Bai Yi. This person seemed to appear suddenly, and the first thing he did when he appeared was to marry Snake Lady Hancock. Later, a girl named Yamato was brought back from nowhere. Not only did she possess the devil fruit of the phantom beast type, but she also had the same move as Kaido, under 8 trigrams. Although Yamato followed the Kuja pirates in the park in South Blue, this matter has even spread to the New World. Many people are speculating about the relationship between this girl and Kaido. There are only a few of us, so we can share a private room with Kuzan Vice Admiral. When the waiter at the auction house wanted to divide them into 2 private rooms, Bai Yi offered to go with Marine. Kuzan Vice Admiral, may I? Bai Yi looked at Kuzan with a smile. Kuzan thought for a while and realized that Sengoku Admiral had said to pay more attention to Bai Yi. Now was the opportunity, so he readily agreed. Guests were still arriving one after another, and Bai Yi saw many familiar faces among these people. For example, Thatch and Teach of the Whitebeard Pirates. Daifuku and Owen of the Bigmom Pirates. Morgans, President of World Economic News. These are the people who can enjoy the private room treatment. There are also many pirates with large bounties, but they can only sit in the hall. Bai Yi quietly said to the women around him, "I'm going out for a while, don't talk to me for the time being." Then, he used his mind to feel the location of the underground puppet, and lay on the sofa pretending to take a nap, and soon started snoring. Op Fruit's transparent cover appeared quietly, avoiding Marine and others in the other half of the room, and lowered and extended the cover. The black puppet in the earthly immortal state also assumed the same posture as him underground. The next moment, he and the black puppet completed an instant position exchange. No one was found in the house. Originally, Yamato and others didn't know the meaning of his order, but they soon discovered that there was something different about him lying down. Although Bai Yi's carving skills are very good, wood carvings are still wood carvings. Even if the surface is covered with self-made bionic skin, they can't hide it from their eyes at close range. Hancock quietly shook his head and motioned for them to keep quiet, and asked Samaro to gently cover Bai Yi with his body, pretending to be afraid that he would catch a cold. In fact, it was to block the eyes of Kuzan and others. Kuzan glanced at the sleeping Bai Yi, pulled down his blindfold, and took a light nap. Call me when the auction starts. Underground, Bai Yi slowly swam upward as if in water. After leaving the ground, he maintained his phantom body barrier and ghost walk status and quietly walked towards the back of the venue. Outside the auction venue, a man wearing a suit with gray-green hair stared blankly at the poster on the auction wall. The image of devil fruit is clearly visible. I must get the devil fruit. Strength and money are everything in this world. Those guys want to use me. Humph. As everyone knows, you are just a tool for me to achieve my goal. The stern eyes turned into humility and courtesy the moment he turned around. He quickly came to a bar, and now the entire bar was occupied by a group of pirates. He quietly came to a very tall and ugly man. Captain, I have inquired clearly. Flamingo is not here. The person in charge here is just an ordinary businessman. Those pirate guards are no match for you. As long as you cause trouble, I can sneak in quietly and steal the devil fruit. Are you sure? The strong man stared at him closely. Confirm. I have a good friend who used to be a waiter here. He overheard the call between the supervisor and Flamingo a few days ago. The Don Quixote family will not come. Moreover, I also found out the location of devil fruit. Okay. The strong man was overjoyed. As long as you get the devil fruit, you will be the senior leader of my Bakushima pirates. Thank you, Captain. The man was happy on the surface, but he was extremely disdainful on the inside. If I get the devil fruit, what will happen to you? Kadri, I'm afraid the moment I hand it over to you will be the day I die. At the auction, as the door closed, a young and beautiful host walked onto the auction stage, and the auction officially began. In Bai Yi's private room, Aokiji woke up at the adjutant's reminder and took off his blindfold. He also glanced sideways at Bai Yi. However, Bai Yi also stood up at this time. Salome, who was covering him, quietly changed his position and let Bai Yi lean on her left side, but still blocked most of Marine's eyes. Hancock and others are not surprised that the white idol can move. After all, there are many hard-working Ruhua on the island. Who was in the phantom state, did not wander around, but went directly to the backstage. All the auction items here must be stored there. Just as he was quietly walking forward, the beautiful voice of the auction host came to his ears. What is being auctioned now is the lost notes of the great scientist Vegapunk. It contains relevant research records of Vegapunk. Upon hearing this, he and Bio quickly said to Hancock beside him, try to take a photo of this note. Bio spoke, making the three girls startled. And it still has the same voice as Bai Yi. But now that Marine Vice Admiral Kuzan was nearby, they didn't ask any questions and started bidding according to Bai Yi's instructions. I offer 10 million belly. 12 million. 20 million. Vegapunk's name is almost universally known among senior executives. Although many people do not know what the so-called Wabo alloy is, it does not prevent them from wanting to obtain it. But these people are basically nobles from various countries. Those big pirates are not interested in this kind of scientific notes at all. Kuzan on the side heard Bai Yi's voice and glanced at him curiously. Does this guy know anything about science? Thinking about what Sengoku Admiral said, the things on his wrists and ankles can form protective armor. Could it be that Bai Yi also made them? He did not participate in the bidding, because Vegapunk is now working for the world government. Moreover, he has also heard about Vegapunk alloy. Vegapunk has indeed been studied for a long time, but all failed. This so-called note is just a record of failure. Of course Bai Yi also knows this. But it is said that stones from other mountains can be used to attack jade. Through Vegapunk's research records, it may be able to provide some inspiration for one's own weapon refining. After all, if he wants to create a weapon like the 1,000 blades of the demon sword, he might really need memory alloy technology. When the bidding reached 50 million Baileys, he asked Hancock to stop bidding. A failed research note is not worth the price. If it cannot be obtained through normal channels, then he can still steal it. After studying the notes, I found that all the items being auctioned were secular items. Only nobles and wealthy businessmen were bidding on them, and the pirates were completely uninterested in them. Until another auction item appeared. The auction now is for a devil fruit illustrated book. And it is the most detailed devil fruit illustrated book in the world so far. I think everyone knows what the devil fruit represents, but the fruit has too many abilities. Although strong people often say that there are no useless fruits, only those with abilities who can't develop them. But taking Zone as an example, the ancient species are better than ordinary ones. The species is stronger, and the fantasy beast species is stronger than the ancient species. There are also some fruits. If you get it, you will have the ultimate power immediately. Like the great pirate Whitebeard, shock fruit has the power to destroy the world. So, if you get a fruit and eat it without knowing its ability, wouldn't it be a wasted opportunity if you get a rubbish ability? But it's different with this devil fruit illustrated book. You can compare it to find the fruit you need. The host's words were extremely contagious, and the emotions of everyone who came to participate in the auction were aroused. Even Bai Yi wants to get this illustration. Suddenly, he thought of Teach he saw before. Perhaps, this person got the devil fruit illustrated book in this auction. Although it may not be a direct auction, it may be intercepted halfway. But it was precisely because of this illustrated book that he began to search for dark fruit, eventually killing Sage and escaping alone. All parties recruited strong men and formed the Blackbeard Pirates. Hancock started bidding under his instruction, but the price of the illustrated book rose too fast, and he soon gave up his plan to obtain it through normal channels. You still have to rely on underhanded tactics. The host explained the lots one by one, and he had quietly arrived at the backstage of the auction house. There were 2 pirate guards guarding the place, and they used the earthly immortal to enter the room without disturbing anyone. On the indoor booth are all the products to be auctioned today. Once the auction ends, these products will be traded with customers one by one. Is this a meteorite? He opened a large wooden box, and 100 kilograms of meteorite iron was extremely eye-catching. With the current level of weapon refining, he could see that these meteorite irons were indeed top-quality materials. In another box next to it is today's finale, the golden fruit. All the items are here except for an antique that is currently being auctioned at the front desk. He took off an empty pouch from his waist and put all these things in it. Anyway, it's okay to take one piece, so I'll just take them all. The origin of Flamingo's things must be dirty, so just think of it as robbing the rich and giving to the poor. Robbing Brother Ming's wealth to help his own poverty. There were a lot of things, and it took him 3 full bite bags to load them all. When he used the earthly immortal to leave again, he suddenly heard the noise outside. Yongdi Xingxian went to the ground floor of the private room and assumed the same posture as the white puppet above. The transparent cover of Op Fruit's room avoided the Marines. In one thought, he exchanged positions with the white puppet. No one noticed the whole process. Only Salome, who was closest to him, noticed the abnormality and quietly touched Hancock. Hancock turned around in confusion and saw his bright smiling face. Although he didn't know where he went, this expression meant that what he had done was successful, and Hancock was happy about it. What happened outside? Bai Yi looked down through the screen and saw a large group of pirates rushing in and starting to smash the auction house. These pirates didn't waste any time, using their weapons to destroy everything in sight. But they all covered their faces and did not attack the guests. The leader of the Blast Lion Pirates is still very self-aware, and the Don Quixote family is not something he can mess with. There are many big pirates among these guests. If you offend them, you will die too. So, they only create chaos so that Tezzolo can sneak in and steal the devil fruit. The sudden intrusion of the pirates indeed caused a great commotion. The nobles and rich men stood up one after another, and the guards around them immediately drew their weapons to guard against the pirates. But Saki, Teach, Irving and others remained unmoved. These pirates all have reputations, but in their eyes, they are nothing more than that. Naturally, Bai Yi would not panic. He even joked with Kuzan, who was not far away. Kuzan, Vice Admiral, the pirates are causing trouble, won't you Marine take care of it? But Kuzan just sat on the seat of the old god and had no intention of suppressing the pirates. My mission is to participate in this auction, not to capture pirates. Kuzan watched the pirates making trouble below with great interest. He was not stupid. This auction belonged to Flamingo, but Brother Ming was also a big pirate. How could he help Brother Ming protect his property? In the only VIP room at the highest point of the auction house, Brother Ming held red wine in his hand and quietly watched the pirates making trouble, as if he was watching a group of dead people. According to the original plan, he would not appear here, but would go to plunder a country with the cadres of the Don Quixote family. However, due to Virgo's arrest, he had to restrain himself. At the same time, he also wanted to test the loyalty of the cadres around him. I changed my plan at the last minute and came to attend the auction. Only Torbal knows that if you want to snatch my devil fruit, you do have a chance while I'm away. Also, there is Kuzan in Marine. Except for Torbal, several others are suspected of betrayal. Soon, Torebal had led a large number of pirates to wipe out the so-called explosive lion pirates. Including the captain, a total of 179 people were killed on the spot. Several strong men who were secretly ambushing outside the auction caught Tezzolo on the spot. However, when Torbal went in to inspect the lot, he was surprised to find that it was empty. Brother Ming was furious when he found out. On the spot, he ordered the auction house to be cordoned off, and at the same time notified the rest of the Don Quixote family cadres to come. He wanted to inspect everyone here. The lot disappeared. How is that possible? Dover, these are all your people. You should know who has been out. Now that the products we photographed are gone, you still dare to put us under house arrest. These are pretty easy to talk about. People like Irving and Saki would not look good on Brother Ming. Flamingo, are you sure you want to search us? Do you want to start a war with us? Brother Ming's face is ugly. There are many characters here that he can't afford to offend. He is not afraid of the likes of Owen and Sage, but behind them are Whitebeard and Charlotte Linlin who he cannot afford to offend. Also, Marine Vice Admiral Kuzan, that's a tricky character too. After careful consideration, he decided to let these people go, but the remaining people would be subject to interrogation. Flamingo, we have been in the same box with Kuzan Vice Admiral. Whether we have gone out or not, Kuzan Vice Admiral knows very well. When Brother Ming asked Bai Yi and the others to stay for inspection, Bai Yi immediately moved out of Kuzan. As he said that, he looked at Kuzan. Right, Kuzan Vice Admiral. Kuzan nodded. Indeed, Nine Snakes and his team have always been with us, they have never gone out. Brother Ming stared at Bai Yi for a few seconds and suddenly burst out laughing. Ha, Bai Yi, I've been seeing news about you in the newspaper a lot lately. If you have a chance, come and sit here. You can leave too. Bai Yi was wearing a singlet, Hancock was wearing a cheongsam, Yamato and Hiori were also wearing thin clothes, and they didn't look like they could hide anything. Bai Yi smiled, shook hands with Brother Ming, and left with the three girls. But those who were stopped did not do it. Hey, Dover, why can those people leave? You have no right to check us. Facing the noise of these people, Brother Ming suddenly released a breathtaking momentum. It was conquerors. The weak ones fainted directly, while the stronger ones also showed fear on their faces. Brother Ming then snorted coldly and said to Torbal, "Search." On the dawn, in the cabin, Hancock and others saw Bio waiting here and immediately understood what had happened. "Did you take those lots?" Bai Yi took off the 3-byte bags on his body and released all the items. There are many antiques and various works of art in it, but the most important ones are Vegapunk's research notes, Devil Fruit illustrated book, 100 pounds of extraterrestrial meteorite, and the devil fruit that shimmered with golden light at that moment. Another devil fruit. Bai Yi, Hancock and Yamato have all eaten devil fruit and are no longer so novel about it. But little lowly Hiori was different. She looked at the fruit with starry eyes. Is this the devil fruit that can give people magical powers? Yes. Bai Yi took out another devil fruit sent by Marine, put it together with this one, and asked Hiori, "Do you want to eat?" Hiori was surprised. "Me, can I eat it too?" She already knows how precious devil fruit is, but is Bai Yi really willing to give such a precious thing to herself? Bai Yi nodded and introduced to her. This one is the golden fruit of Paramecia, which can give people the ability to manipulate gold. And this one is most likely a common zone devil fruit. Eat it and you will gain extraordinary power. Do you want to eat it? Hiori was a little moved. She looked at Yamato, who had become a good friend during this period, and asked her for help. "Yamato, should I take one?" Yamato did not give her advice, but analyzed the pros and cons for her. After eating the devil fruit, you will be disgusted by the sea and will never be able to swim in it. However, compared with the powerful power, this side effect is negligible. Zone's normal variety is the worst devil fruit. If you have a choice, it's better to eat the fantasy beast variety or Logia. As for Paramecia, I don't know enough about it to give you sound advice. Hiori listened carefully to Yamato's words. Forget it, if I want to eat devil fruit, I have to eat the same phantom beast species as Yamato. Bai laughed when he heard this. Most people will never see a devil fruit in their lifetime, and you picked it. Do you really not want to eat it? Hiori shook her head. I won't eat it. And looked at Bai with his big eyes. I believe you can get more devil fruit. Bai was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, but what if I don't give it to you? The little loli was stunned, and after a while, she said angrily, if you don't give it to me, I will grab it myself. Ha 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 ha. Bai raised her head and laughed. This little loli finally got the idea. Yeah, we are born in this world and grab what we want. How can we always stick to Odin's mentality? Why are you laughing? The little loli was very dissatisfied, thinking that Bai was laughing at her for overestimating her abilities. I will also become a peak powerhouse. Whatever fruit you want, I will grab it myself. Okay, I'm waiting for you to snatch back a phantom beast species. If you can do it, even if you can't defeat Marine Vice Admiral, I will give you Tianyu Yuzhen. It's a deal. It's a deal. Putting the golden fruit away again, he opened the Devil Fruit illustrated book and began to compare what the one given by Marine was. Beside him, 3 girls were also looking for him curiously. After a long time, they finally saw the exact same pattern as this fruit on one of the pages. Weasel fruit honey badger form. It turned out to be Brother Flathead. Bai was pleasantly surprised. This is considered powerful among ordinary zone species. Not only does it have strong defense, but it also has high toxin resistance, and its agility is also quite high. You can keep this fruit for now and give it to your close cadres later. But after he took the fruit illustrated book away, the system reward was not triggered. In other words, Teach has other ways to obtain the fruit illustrated book, or he already has the fruit illustrated book. After putting the fruit away, he took out Vegapunk's research notebook and read it. This notebook is very thick, recording 103 failed experiments of Vegapunk. But after every experiment failed, there was Vegapunk's summary and reflection. Although he did not succeed in the end, Bai could find inspiration from it. Bai, where should we go next? Hancock lay lazily aside, while Hiori and Yamato were holding the Devil Fruit illustrated book and looking at it with gusto. Let's go to Marineford first and buy some new world maps and permanent pointers from Marine. Shanks snatched rubber fruit and came to East Blue Windmill Village, and Fisher Tiger was attacked and seriously injured and dying, both of which happened in this year. But he didn't know the time. After thinking about it, it is still too dangerous to snatch food from Shanks now. Therefore, he chose to go to Foreshat Island to look for the Sun Pirate ship first. Although Storo Berry is not very strong, you have to be careful of Porosalino who may appear at any time. However, it does not necessarily require a direct conflict with Marine to affect this event. There are many ways to solve it. But after all, we still have to find the Sun Pirates first. But Foreshat Island is just a small island. If you want to get there, you need the guidance of a permanent pointer. Where else in the world has more comprehensive nautical charts and pointers than Marine? It just so happens that Hancock is the 7 warlords of the sea, so it makes sense to buy something from Marine. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.